Her Secret Agent Fake Fiancé. Christmas Fake Fiancé Romance Book 1. Written by Kimberly Montpetit. Narrated by Elizabeth Walker. Chapter 1. Elevator Meet Cute? Erin Steele swung open the lobby doors of the FBI field office building and strode across the polished tile floors toward the bank of elevators. The doors to the first elevator opened with a subtle swish. Hurrying inside, Erin reached for the button to the 14th floor when a man suddenly appeared from out of nowhere and stepped inside before the doors closed. Reaching across her, he punched the button for the floor he wanted. Erin flinched at his abrupt maneuver. "Excuse me, I was here first." She stared into the piercing green eyes of a well-built man towering over her. For some reason, his good looks just set her off even further. One of those overly confident, handsome men who thought the world revolved around them. She straightened to her full 5'8" with an annoyed gasp. Despite her silly attempt at intimidation, the man who had so rudely nudged her away from the elevator button was still almost 6 inches taller than she was. Erin noted that he was dressed in a tailored charcoal gray suit with a crisp white shirt and green tie that matched his eye color to perfection. He must think a lot of himself. A fashion model, most likely. Although what a magazine model was doing in an FBI field office was a bit peculiar. "Pardon me," she repeated. "I do believe I get first dibs at my claimed floor." He gave her a pleasant smile and pointed to the panel of floor numbers, which only seemed to irritate Erin further. "If you'll notice, we're going to the same floor." "No, we're not." Erin cut herself off. Sure enough, he'd pressed the elevator button for floor 14. "Looks like we might have an appointment at the same office," he suggested. "I doubt it. And I'm late, so please excuse me if I exit first when we arrive at the 14th floor," she added, worried about getting to her meeting on time. He merely smiled again. It wasn't so much condescending this time, but rather a little too self-assured, although she couldn't help noticing that he had fantastic dark hair that was soft and wavy, curling along his crisp white collar. Erin shook her head in an attempt to divert her traitorous eyes away from the gorgeous man. He was probably an ex-football player, a quarterback since he was remarkably trim and yet well-built, his bicep muscles bulging inside his suit coat sleeves. "Stop staring," she ordered herself, the jump in her stomach a dead giveaway of her attraction. But that's all he was, a nice-looking man bearing an air of conceit. Erin was tempted to pull out her cell phone as a distraction, but not even her emails or text messages could distract from the worry at the pit of her stomach. The unexpected meeting with her boss had her deathly curious. She was almost finished wrapping up a white-collar fraud case with a shell company that was used as a front for laundering money. Nothing new should be assigned until she'd turned in the final reports. "The 14th floor of a skyscraper is always a bit amusing, don't you think?" the man said, speaking in a smooth, deep voice, his eyes on her face. "What do you mean?" she asked, surprised he was talking to her. "The 14th is actually the 13th floor. They just call it the 14th so superstitious people won't freak out." "I suppose that's true. I guess it makes people feel safer not to call it the dreaded unlucky 13. She eyed him with a small grin of her own. "Are you admitting that you're superstitious?" "Nope. Are you?" "Of course not." The elevator slowed and came to a stop. When the doors slid open, Erin stepped out, a little knot of anticipation in her stomach at the late evening meeting, but also relieved that the office building was fairly new and up to date. She wouldn't want to be stuck in a broken elevator with a strange man after hours. Of course, her best friend, Lila Norwood, would have loved it. She always thought it would be romantic to be trapped in an elevator with a gorgeous man. And this specific male certainly fit the bill. But since it was only a week before Christmas, getting stuck in an elevator with no lights and no heat would totally ruin Erin's day. Striding down the carpeted hallway to suite 1455, she was acutely aware that the man was following right behind, his steps quiet but determined. Erin whipped around, senses on alert, placing her hand on the grip of her 9mm Glock in her handbag. "Are you following me?" "I'm beginning to wonder if you're following me," he said. "That's ridiculous. I'm in front of you. How could I possibly know which office you're headed to?" "Touché," he said with an amused smile. "You must be a detective." "And you probably read too many crime novels," she retorted, surprised at the sassy response coming out of her mouth. "Are you at the San Francisco FBI field office for a term paper research?" There was a hint of danger behind his eyes while he assessed her. "Something like that." "Maybe you shouldn't have pressed that camouflage 13th floor button," Erin quipped. "Besides, visitors need an appointment to see any of the agents who occupy these offices." He pursed his lips and nodded. "I see. Thanks for the tip." Why did it seem like this dude was laughing at her? His footsteps continued to follow her instead of turning down the intersecting hallway to the other wing of offices. When she reached Supervisor Howell's office, Erin pushed open the door and greeted the woman at the front desk. "Agent Steele here to see Agent Howell. I have an appointment." "Yes, he's expecting you," Laura Tidwell, the office manager, said, punching a button on her intercom while she pressed a finger against the rim of her black framed glasses. "Your appointment has arrived, sir." A male voice that sounded like a truck filled with loose gravel spoke through the intercom. "Send Steele in." Erin tried not to let her sweaty palms show as she crossed the room. The outer office door opened and closed behind her, and she craned her neck to glance backward. The man who had pushed his way into the elevator was now in the FBI office. He had followed her. Erin's heart stuttered, wondering who the heck he was, but she focused on the task at hand and firmly shut the door. Glancing through the window behind Agent Howell's desk, the evening streetlights began to glow on Golden Gate Avenue. "Steele," her boss said. "Have a seat." Erin spoke up before he could ask. "I'll be finished with the final reports of the Spillman-Hoberman project by tomorrow." Running a hand through his graying hair, Howell nodded. "That's fine, but you're not here about that. I have something new that's much more urgent." "What's happened? I haven't heard any rumors recently." "This is highly confidential. Nobody knows about your next assignment but the people in this room." Erin sat up straighter. Why did he say, "the people in this room," when there were only 2 people here? Yes, sir," she said, unsure what he was driving at. "Your word, urgent, has me curious." "Tomorrow night we're sending you to a Christmas party, where we believe there will be some stolen art pieces changing hands." Erin lifted an eyebrow. "You think an exchange will occur during the party?" "Yes. You've been recommended because you have a minor in art history. Is that correct?" "Correct. It's been several years since I graduated college, though. What type of art are you talking about?
A Russian Fabergé egg.
Erin sucked in a breath, shifting in the hard chair. I believe Fabergé pieces are forged all the time. Quite well, too, I understand.
This one is the real deal, we think. The last known documentation states that it belonged to the Imperial Romanov family, and we have it on good authority that the last time it sold was at Christie's auction house in New York to a member of the royal family of Qatar, 20 years ago. But certification papers could easily be forged.
After 2 decades, the piece could be anywhere in the world by now, Erin told him. What year did the Romanov family own it?
It was specifically crafted in 1913 as part of the Romanovs' Easter gifts, 4 years before the Russian Revolution broke out.
A chill ran down Erin's spine. She knew the story of the royal Romanov family well. The entire family murdered in cold blood, gruesome and tragic. The egg's authenticity could be hard to verify, and I'm definitely not an expert, Agent Howell. Perhaps we should call in someone with specific expertise. He shook his head.
No time to find someone else. We just received intelligence that the art piece is being moved tomorrow. Besides, most of our domestic forgers are in prison.
Erin let out a low chuckle. Good point. What do you need me to do?
We're still working on the details of the evening,
Agent Howell said vaguely, now shifting in his own seat. Erin quirked an eyebrow. Why a Christmas party?
Most of the wealthiest people of San Francisco will be there. We believe that the jeweled egg will be smuggled on a private plane out of San Francisco tomorrow night straight for Beijing. We need to stop its transport. The Christmas party will be intentionally crowded and chaotic. A good subterfuge for moving stolen goods.
Stolen from where?
That's not completely known either. A collector? A museum?
Howell lifted his shoulders.
It's not in the official documentation we received. But we can't let it get on that plane and disappear.
He pushed a file folder across the desk toward Erin.
Here are the details you need for tomorrow night.
She took the folder and opened it, perusing the basics of the operation. I'll have an alias, huh? Cassandra Fairfax sounds fancy.
You're a rich heiress from the oil fields of Texas. That will help you get into the vicinity of the art piece, wherever it's being kept on the estate. That's something we don't know either. You're posing as a potential buyer.
I didn't think the Fabergé egg was for sale.
It's technically not, but potential rich buyers will always intrigue the owner. If you can outbid the Minister of the Foreign Office of China.
Yeah, right, Erin scoffed. I'm not sure even an oil heiress could outbid a foreign government. Unless she owned all of Texas. Some of those jeweled Fabergé pieces sell for more than $30 million.
Her boss smiled. See, you do know more about the art world than you let on.
Okay, I admit I like to keep up with it. It can be fascinating. So, she paused, lifting her eyes to Agent Howell. Where am I going to get a dress that will impress all the other millionaires at the party? My personal closet is woefully inadequate for an event like this party. A small smile crossed his lips.
You have an appointment with a stylist tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Erin tried to hide her dismay. Jeans and a knitted pullover were more her style. On her days off, she kicked off her professional black pumps and threw them in the back of her closet. That sounds like torture.
Part of the job, Howell said simply. Here's the address of the salon. When you're finished, there will be a hired car to pick you up and drop you off at the party.
I'm not sure I can pretend to be a fashion model for that many hours, Erin muttered under her breath.
Fake it, Steele.
She flipped the pages. So, who is this character listed on page 3? Marcus Romero? Is he some rich dude I need to intercept?
He's your date. He'll be in the car to meet you at the salon.
My date? Erin practically squeaked. I prefer to work alone. Come on, Agent Howell, a date? Seriously? The office door behind her opened and closed, but Erin didn't turn around to see who had entered because she was busy staring daggers into her boss. Agent Howell pushed back his desk chair.
Please meet Braden Moretti. He will not only escort you to the party, but he will pose as your fiancé.
Fiancé? She blurted. Sorry, not getting engaged to a stranger for this job. I draw the line at that. Besides, I'm not trained for undercover work.
A fake engagement. A fake fiancé, Howell said with a grimace. Nobody will suspect a young couple in love and making eyes at each other. The other guests will think it's romantic, he added, using air quotes.
Those words do not suit you, Erin said dryly. Her boss came around the desk, lightly touching her shoulder to spin her around.
This is Agent Braden Moretti, your partner for tomorrow night, now known as your fiancé, Marcus Romero.
Erin sagged against Agent Howell's desk, a gasp of surprise choking her. Braden Moretti stood just inside the office door, all 6'4" of him. Broad-shouldered and wearing that crisp gray suit that fit him perfectly. One eyebrow arched over deep green eyes as he threw her an impudent grin.
No,
Erin said, shaking her head.
Unbelievable.
This guy, her new partner and fake fiancé, was the same man who'd stalked her all the way from the lobby to the 14th floor in the elevator not 30 minutes ago. Chapter 2. A Disturbing Proposition. You? Erin said, her face growing warm.
Do you two know each other?
Agent Howell asked.
Nope,
Braden said, giving Erin a sly wink. We merely shared the elevator.
Very good,
Howell said, moving to take his seat behind the desk once more.
Please sit down, both of you, and we'll go over the details together.
Erin perched on the edge of her chair, her body buzzing with adrenaline. She wanted to turn down the case, but of course she couldn't. And she had to consider her own integrity. Somehow she'd have to make the best of it. But she and Braden Moretti were going to have to pretend to be engaged? How insane was that? Any chance we can just be friends or co-workers? She asked. I see no reason to go that far. Agent Howell shook his head.
The Bureau thinks you'll be under less suspicion this way. A pair of lovers is always endearing to the rest of the guests, especially since you're not personal friends with the owner of the house.
Speaking of the Bureau, Erin said, jerking a thumb at the man from the elevator. If Moretti works from this field office, why have I never seen him before? Howell cleared his throat.
That's because he doesn't work through this office. He's not FBI. He's CIA.
What? You mean as in Langley? That makes no sense. Howell lifted his eyes to Erin's.
We're dealing with an international group that specializes in stolen goods and artifacts that spans the globe, not just domestically.
Are you telling me that Moretti will be the lead in this case? Erin inwardly groaned. She probably should have been nicer in the elevator.
"You catch on quick, Agent Steele,"
Agent Howell said with a thin smile. Erin pressed her lips together. My personal opinion is that this is not going to work. Nobody at that party is going to believe that we're a couple, let alone in love and engaged.
"Why not?"
Because we don't know each other. Because we're not attracted to each other. Because... She stopped, not wanting to state the obvious. Braden Moretti smiled that practiced, annoying smile.
"Agent Steele and I sort of, got off on the wrong foot earlier." "Well, get on the right footing, both of you," Howell said, his voice rising. "That's an order. There's no time to start over with new agents. No time for silliness or hurt feelings. You're both professionals. Do this job or resign."
Erin sat back in her chair. Of course, Agent Howell. We'll manage, somehow. Next to her, Agent Moretti was perusing the file.
"Will we be in disguise for this?"
"No," Howell replied.
"But you'll have new names. Your identities will be as an engaged couple who come from a wealthy oil family, hence the party attire, and you're looking to begin an art collection. Having an art minor, Erin's background is already set up as someone who loves Russian collectibles. At first, we thought about portraying her background as a college student in a study abroad program at a Russian university. But since Erin doesn't know the Russian language, that won't be convincing. Obviously, she would have picked up some Russian language skills if she'd spent even 6 months or a year in Russia 10 years ago."
"There isn't anyone in this field office who can speak a smattering of Russian?" Erin asked, hoping she could bow out of the assignment.
"Our last semi-fluent agent retired last year, and the CIA's Russian officers are out of the country on other assignments with higher value. This is a one-night job, so we're not pulling anyone else in just for this."
He raised his eyes and stared at them meaningfully.
"You will be the most convincing engaged couple at the party, and that's an order. Besides, it's Christmas. Everybody is jolly and distracted, and a little bit tipsy. That's what our hosts are hoping for as well."
"Why do you say that?" Erin asked. "Drunk guests are often a whole lot of trouble."
"The details are in the file, but our hunch is that the host of the party is hoping to sell a fake Russian Fabergé Egg instead of an authentic one and smuggle it out of the country."
Erin gave a small grunt, her mind working. "So we are to determine which one is fake and find the real piece, then stall the transfer until we know who's behind it? Do you want us to make arrests tomorrow night?"
Howell nodded. "We'll have a SWAT team on standby when you give them the word."
Braden Moretti spoke up.
"Who are you watching the most closely for arranging the fake?" "We thought it might be the owner of the house, the host of the party, but we're not positive. There will be a lot of high-profile billionaires at this shindig, so we're not ruling anyone out."
Erin quirked her chin. "So you want us to figure out who is facilitating the swap and figure out which Fabergé is fake in a few short hours? You want the moon, boss." Howell gave her a dry look.
"Read the dossier, memorize it, and then leave it in your safe at home until after the party is over and the job is accomplished."
Braden lifted his head.
"This all looks pretty self-explanatory. Agent Steele and I can discuss any further details on our own."
Erin pursed her lips, thinking of 1,000 things they still needed to discuss to make this job successful. Not to be impertinent, but tell me again who's the lead on this case." Agent Howell hesitated for a fraction of a second, but Erin noticed it.
"Moretti is. I just told you that."
A small flash of irritation ran through Erin. "Why?"
CIA always has the lead in international crime, you know that. In fact, they're the ones that came to us.
Why didn't the CIA find another one of their own agents to be on Moretti's team? Her boss pursed his lips.
Because the FBI is always involved when a U.S. citizen is involved in a crime on our own soil. And you're the arresting officer, of course.
Of course. Erin tried not to be annoyed to get paired up with CIA, who rarely, if ever, worked in the country. Her boss should have given her a heads up before he threw this case at her in front of Spook Moretti. At least it was only a couple of days, and most of the action was just one night, if there was any action. So where do I go to get dressed up for the party? Agent Howell pushed a piece of paper across the desk toward her.
Here's the woman's name and the address of the salon.
Erin wished the stylist could come to her own apartment. Going to a salon was too much bother and unnecessary glitz. Normally, she was a wash-and-wear girl. Her hair was thick and wavy and only needed the occasional trim. Her makeup was simple because Erin was fortunate to have been born with pristine skin. Howell added, as if reading her mind,
We don't want any links to your real name or address. You will enter the salon as Erin Steele and leave as Cassandra Fairfax.
Erin stifled a laugh at the pretentious name. When do I meet up with Agent Moretti after the salon finishes their torture session with me? A faint chuckle came from Moretti, but he didn't speak. Agent Howell sighed.
Moretti will meet you at the salon, and you'll figure out the details of your relationship on your own.
So the details must not matter, Erin said.
Only that they match, her boss said with a grin. Now get out of here and figure it out.
Erin rose to her feet, clutching the file under her arm while she swept through the office door and headed back down the hallway to the elevator. The sound of distant conversations came from the other offices as she passed. She wished she could head to her own office and lock herself inside with the file, but she had to get started with her new partner. They had obnoxiously little time to prepare. When she reached for the elevator button, Braden Moretti's finger punched it first. Your timing at the elevator is impeccable as always, Agent Moretti, she said, lifting an eyebrow. Or are you doing that on purpose? Maybe we were thrown together because we're already in sync with each other, he suggested with a quirk on his lips. Lips that were seriously beautiful, Erin thought before she could stop herself. Don't flatter yourself, Moretti. I doubt we're in sync at all. He leaned against the wall while they waited for the elevator to shoot up.
We need to be in sync. We're engaged, remember?
No, we're not. Cassandra Fairfax is engaged to you, and I will not take on her character until tomorrow evening.
Hey, I don't know why you seem to have a grudge against me, he said softly. I'm not a bad guy. At least not anymore. My bad guy days are long over.
She let out a laugh, surprising herself. You're a piece of work. The man seemed to have an ego the size of the Golden Gate Bridge, maybe the entire Bay Area Peninsula. She'd paused too long and hadn't responded to his statement about being a bad guy, whatever that meant. He was CIA after all. Many of them liked to put on an air of mystery. Erin decided she couldn't care too much. This was a one-day job. Short, simple, not dangerous at all. Then she could move on with her holiday shopping and planning her Christmas Eve gathering with her friends and family. There were a few new cookie recipes she wanted to try. She'd focus on that and try to ignore the man she'd be working with for the next 36 hours. While they rode to the lobby in silence, Braden stared at the descending elevator floor lights, his hands clasped in front of him. Finally, he said in a casual voice, So you were an art major, huh? Hearing his voice in the awkward silence, Erin gave a little start. Minor. My major was political science with an emphasis in international studies and economics. Impressive. I'm curious, do you know much about these Russian Fabergé eggs? I'm not sure I've ever heard of them before. But then again, I'm not a millionaire with an art collection in my penthouse apartment. Would be nice, eh? Erin found herself actually giving the man a quick smile. Something had been nagging at Erin's brain about this new job, and Braden's question regarding the objet d'art suddenly clicked. She let out a little gasp. I can see something whirring in your brain, Agent Steele. Well, I especially loved European art. There was a small section about the Romanov family and their relationship to Carl Fabergé, which always fascinated me. That led me to dive into Fabergé's incredible gold and jewelry work. I watched a video about his life a few years ago and his relationship with the Romanov family. Fabergé created hundreds of pieces for them, many given as gifts when they traveled to foreign empires. Why did you gasp when I brought up millionaires and art collections? The elevator stopped and the doors opened. Erin exited and then turned to Braden. How would my boss know that Fabergé Eggs was a special interest of mine? The Bureau has eyes in the back of their heads. She cocked her head, wondering if he was teasing her or warning her. Comforting, aren't you? He grinned mischievously. They always warn us to watch our backs. Erin rolled her eyes as they walked out into the early evening. Misty fog rolled in from the bay to curl through the streets of Victorian houses and office buildings. A chill crept up her neck at Braden's words. He was joking, wasn't he? Still, Agent Howell had told her straight out that he chose her for this job because of her art history minor degree. But how would he know her fascination with the Romanov royal family and Fabergé? It was a coincidence that this art fraud job concerned exactly that. She said a quick goodnight and headed to the parking lot to retrieve her car. No streetcar commute? Braden's voice said behind her, startling her once again. She thought he had peeled off in the opposite direction once they left the sidewalk of the FBI building. Nope, I'm lucky to have parking at the apartment where I live, and my folks retired to the East Bay area, so having a vehicle makes it easier to see them. You're lucky not to have to ride BART then. Precisely. Hey, he said as the streetlights grew stronger in the gloom. Will you tell me more about Fabergé Eggs over dinner? I know nothing about them, and they sound a little bizarre. Mostly I need some briefing so I don't make a fool of myself at the party tomorrow night. Okay, Erin said slowly. I'd like to read the file on my own, and then we can talk details tomorrow in person. Besides, who am I to prevent you from making a fool of yourself? Ooh, that's some wicked sass, Agent Steele. Braden's voice was husky, as masculine and sexy as a movie star. See you tomorrow, he added as he moved down the row of vehicles toward his own. But don't worry, I don't bite. Is that a promise? Erin called out, jabbing her car key into the driver's door of her Nissan Altima. She heard his car door open in the half-empty parking garage, and then his deep chuckle that sent chills up her spine. Despite her attraction to Braden Moretti, the man made her nervous, but it was her own fault. She wasn't used to working with someone so incredibly good-looking and close to her same age. Most of the other agents she'd done cases with could be her father. Her defense mechanism usually resorted to healthy doses of snarky repartee. But was that enough to get her through a lavish party at a millionaire's mansion tomorrow night and sneaking around the house to look for fake art? Erin's gut clenched with anticipation. She and Moretti could very well be in danger. At the moment, she'd try to forget about the risks, go home and sip a hot cocoa while she memorized the case file she'd tossed onto the passenger seat next to her. She'd kill this case and impress her boss if it was the last thing she did. Which it very well might be. No matter how casually Agent Howell had spoken about the criminal fraud of this case, she and Moretti were walking into a situation fraught with danger. A lot could go wrong if they weren't careful. No, not a lot could go wrong. Everything could. Chapter 3. Incognito Makeover. Warm sunlight poured through the window on an unexpectedly nice December afternoon, while Darla, the salon owner, spun Erin in the swivel chair to inspect her from every angle.
You don't do much with your hair and makeup, do you? But you have great features and great skin, so you're lucky.
The woman leaned in to inspect Erin's face, her false eyelashes batting and a big grin breaking across her plump face.
When I get done with you, nobody will recognize you.
That may be the point of my being here, Erin said with a small laugh. Darla lifted her eyebrows and grinned.
Let's turn you into a runway model, Miss Fairfax, she added, her chuckle reverberating about the empty salon. Or maybe an exotic princess.
Erin glanced about the salon, wondering who the stylist was referring to when she called her Miss Fairfax. Then she quickly remembered that she was Miss Fairfax. I place myself into your capable hands. I need some magic, too, Erin added, staring ruefully at her damp, frizzy hair and pale face. She'd been told to arrive at the salon straight out of the shower. It's a good thing nobody saw me on the way over here. I'd probably scare my own friends.
Darla waved a hand. You look better than you think, and now that I see you in person, I have the perfect dress for your fancy party tonight.
The next 3 hours, Darla spent blow-drying, straightening, and then using a big fat curling iron on Erin's thick dark hair. It was quite the process, and the technique was amazing. Her hair had big, soft waves that draped across her shoulders and framed her face in a sexy yet romantic way. Goodness, my hair looks like a cover model for a fashion magazine, Erin breathed when Darla finished a final swirling curl that fell across one eye. Darla smiled. I used to work for Marie Claire magazine eons ago in New York. That's impressive. And gosh, I love my hair like this. Can I take you home with me so you can do my hair every morning? Darla gave a casual wink.
That's what everyone says. But you can't afford me, sweet Cassandra. Not many can, since I charge $500 an hour.
Okay then, Erin laughed. I'll enjoy it for this one glorious night where I'll feel as beautiful as a runway model.
And you should, Darla emphasized. It's fun to step into a world of glamour and wealth, even if we go home to a one-bedroom apartment in Daly City. After we do your makeup, then the fun part begins. Dresses, evening gowns, and jewelry to match. After you're dressed, I'll do a final spritz with the hairspray and fix any stray locks or smudges, so just stay relaxed.
Erin didn't feel exactly uptight, but she wasn't exactly relaxed either. Despite the fun personality of Darla and the magic of getting dolled up, the hour of the party was counting down too fast. She was not a socialite. Or rich, or skilled at making conversation. A plethora of nerves were definitely having a party in the pit of her stomach. Darla was a good distraction, though. She was a miracle worker with foundation, blush, powder, eyeliner, mascara, and highlighted her best features while downplaying her nose. "Now I really do not look like myself," Erin told her, turning her head from side to side after the stylist had finished outlining her lips, and then filling them in with a lipstick she vowed would last all night long. "You look like you, just gorgeous and glamorous. I defy a single man at that party tonight to keep his eyes off of you. Your date will be fighting them off." "Oh, right," Erin burst out with a laugh. Braden Moretti probably didn't want to be her date tonight any more than she wanted to be his. "Besides, I don't want to bring attention to myself," she added vaguely, since Darla couldn't possibly know why she was attending this particular Christmas gala tonight. "You look just like all the other wealthy society women. If you didn't, then you would stick out." Good point. 60 seconds later, Darla swiveled the chair around and announced, "This way to all the pretty dresses." The final hour together was spent trying on at least half a dozen dresses in every color and style, modest to slit sides and plunging necklines. "I'm more of a modest girl. I don't even wear bikinis to the beach," Erin finally said. "Gotcha." Darla had already taken Erin's height, waist, and bust measurements. She marched over to another rack and rifled through the glittering dresses. This is the one. I predict it." Erin gave her a smile and stifled a yawn. She never had predicted getting dressed up would tire her out so much. She needed a Coke, caffeine, maybe a few of them to get through the night. She'd ask Braden to get the limo driver to drive through McDonald's for their largest drink. Or maybe one of those 64-ounce drink with lots of ice at the gas station. And she'd make Agent Moretti go inside to fill it for her. The idea of it made her smile. Braden would probably refuse, and they could have another argument. "Off to the dressing room with you, Miss Fairfax," Darla said, handing over the latest gown. When Erin slipped it on and Darla zipped up the back, she gasped out loud. The evening gown was a floor-length creation of red lame with a gorgeous gold sequin pattern that fit her body like a glove. The soft fabric smoothed sensuously over her hips and outlining her bust in the shapely bra that Darla had insisted she wear, so not a single line or ripple marred the picture. Long fitted sleeves ended at a point on the back of her hand. The skirt flared just slightly, swishing as she walked. Not too loose, but not too tight so she'd be able to run if circumstances warranted. The sweetheart neckline showed just the tiniest bit of cleavage without being too much. "I am completely blown away," Erin breathed. "Your figure is outstanding in this style and fabric." "Okay, yes," Erin admitted with a grin. "You work magic. I do feel like a princess." "I predicted that you would look like $1,000,000, Miss Fairfax," Darla declared with a pleased smile of her own. "No, 2,000,000. "I don't feel like myself," Erin admitted. "And please call me, Cassandra." There. She had finally spit the name out of her mouth. She had to get used to the alias name before she unintentionally stumbled later tonight with the other guests at the party. "Cassandra Fairfax," Darla said, eyeing her from every angle. "You will be a showstopper. All those rich men will be proposing to you tonight." "Rich men, ha ha!" Darla put on a pout. "Why do you laugh at me?" "Because I'm already engaged." Okay, now Erin had said the other part out loud. "You're engaged and never breathed a word all afternoon?" Erin gave a lame shrug. "Congratulations!" Darla squealed. "That's so exciting!
When is the wedding?
Well, we're talking about next fall. September is always a good month for a wedding in San Francisco.
That's true. Autumn is the best weather here in the Bay Area. No fog, no wind. Remember me when you want to get all dolled up with curls and diamond tiaras for your wedding day.
Erin gulped.
I will, thank you.
You've been very kind, and it's true that you must be the best hair and makeup stylist in the city. Darla chuckled, not blushing even a tiny bit. The woman knew she was good.
You may not thank me when you get my bill in the mail. Please sign here and verify that the address is correct.
Erin took the paperwork with trepidation, wondering what address had been given to the salon owner. Her eyes perused the invoice with a nonchalant glance for Darla's sake. Immediately, she recognized that it was the address for one of the FBI safe houses in Sausalito. "Looks perfect," she said, steadying her voice at the price. $2,000 for hair, makeup, and the evening gown rental. Whoa. Okay, then. The price made her aware once again of the gravity of the evening. She took one last look in the mirror, astounded at her changed appearance.
Bring it back in one piece,
Darla said gaily, peeking out the window of the salon. Erin didn't want to ask what the cost of the dress was. Probably 10 grand.
I think your escort is here to take you to the party. A limo just pulled up.
Butterflies shot into Erin's throat, straight from her stomach. This was it. The night was really happening.
Before I forget,
Darla added, running into the rear dressing room once more and returning in seconds.
Here's your wrap and an evening bag to use. It is December, after all. Can't have you catching a cold.
The woman placed a gold stole around Erin's shoulders and a glittery red evening bag into her hands.
I filled the bag with a fresh lipstick, the same color you're already wearing. A small pack of tissues and a secure cell phone.
Erin slowly lifted her eyes to stare at the woman. Darla gave her a cell phone?
Your date tonight already knows the number,
the older woman said softly, giving her a wink. You? Erin spluttered. You know? Darla shrugged with a self-deprecating smile.
Yeah, I'm actually retired from the force and returned to my old passion working disguises for agents just like you, Miss Steele. During the week, I'm a normal beauty salon owner.
Laughter bubbled up in Erin's throat. Oh my gosh, you knew all afternoon. Darla shrugged mischievously.
I told you I was good.
I guess so.
Hey, if you get into trouble or lose your partner in some way, just dial *999. I'll send backup, or a body bag, but we'll stay optimistic.
You're so comforting, Darla, Erin said, throwing in a bit of sass.
Your limo and man await, young lady,
Darla said while Erin was still in shock over herself and the wall of mirrors. Erin gulped, nerves shooting into her throat. It's time. I mean, he's here already? Well, I know that. It's just, She paused to get a hold of her thoughts.
Quick, stand still.
Darla pulled out a giant can of hairspray and had her close her eyes. She tweaked Erin's hair here and there, then sprayed again to hold it all in place. Finally, she placed a pair of dangly diamond earrings in her ears and a matching necklace. Erin protested, admiring the stunning jewelry. No way. I won't be responsible for real gemstones.
They're a good imitation, aren't they? Darla said with a chuckle. They're not real, sweetheart, but jewelry completes you now. And believe me, every other woman will be dripping in jewels tonight. And they'll be fake, too. No millionaire heiress or wife of a millionaire goes out in her genuine jewels. Trust me, they keep the real deals in a safe.
Erin let out a breath of relief just as Braden Moretti entered the salon.
Chapter 4.
Fake wedding plans.
Hubba hubba, baby,
Darla muttered under her breath. Is that your hot date, Miss Fairfax? Erin couldn't answer her. She was gaping at the sight of Agent Moretti when he shut the door of the salon and turned to look at her. The man wore a black tux with a blindingly crisp white shirt, a deep red cummerbund around his waist, and a matching bow tie. Perfect for a Christmas party. Darla murmured again, I wonder who dressed him tonight. Maybe I need to return to espionage service. If only I was 20 years younger. Shh, Erin hissed, hoping Moretti hadn't heard the woman. She tried to remain composed, even though her face was probably flaming red. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just stared at one another. Finally, Braden said, That's you, Cassandra? Miss Fairfax? Erin spread her hands and raised an eyebrow. Who else? You look fantastic, he complimented her. Thank you, she said simply, trying to still her heart so it wouldn't jump out of her chest. The limo is at the curb. Shall we go? He asked. Stepping forward, he held out his arm for her to take. Being close to him was something she had avoided at the field office, so it felt weird to have his sleeve brush up against her arm. And then her stomach did a somersault when his warm fingers took her hand and placed it in the crook of his arm to escort her outside. Have fun, you two, Darla called out as Agent Moretti led Erin out to the waiting limousine. Don't forget your bag, Cassandra, she added, running to fetch a small black purse. Thanks, Darla. Erin tucked the bag she'd brought with her from home under her arm. She gave a little wave while Darla winked at her and then closed the salon door, peeking through the glass. The sharp December air took Erin's breath away and she pulled the warm wrap tighter around her shoulders. Cold tonight, isn't it? Agent Moretti said. A bit, Erin said, shivering. I'll keep you warm, he added simply. There's no need for that, Moretti, Erin retorted, then bit her lips. She hadn't meant to sound so vicious. I'm not coming on to you, Miss Fairfax, he said. Just offering my jacket if you get too cold. Oh, well, thank you. Braden opened the rear door and helped lower her onto the plush leather seat. When Erin swung her legs inside the vehicle, her dress slipped off her leg where the dress had a slit up to her knee, which showed off a bit of her thigh. Quickly, she grabbed the length of the dress and tucked it underneath her, biting at her lip. She could tell that Braden was trying not to stare, but he didn't say anything as he rounded the back of the limo to get in on the opposite side of the car. A moment later, he'd slid in beside her and shut the door. Nice. The seats are heated. I noticed, Erin agreed, leaning deeply into the toasty warm sofa bench of the luxury vehicle. Sure beats my Nissan. So what's in the mysterious bag? He asked. Well, this red one is my evening bag, and the black pack is my insurance. Insurance, huh? Every girl needs a little bit of insurance. Don't worry, I'm leaving it in the limo for the evening. Have your little secret, Braden said, grinning as he tapped on the glass between the front seat and the rear seat. The chauffeur pulled into traffic and began the journey to the Presidio neighborhood with its mansions and view of the San Francisco Bay. Erin stared out the window, drowning in the masculine scent of Agent Moretti. He was wearing a cologne that was yummy. She couldn't place it, but it was musky and sexy, and she wanted to lean into him and touch the skin of his face. Instead, she clenched her fists and tucked them under her legs so she wouldn't inadvertently do just that. Hey, we don't have a lot of time. I'm assuming you read the file several times. Of course, she said. I think we need to use our aliases now, he said in a low voice, his lips barely moving as they drove under the passing streetlights. Those very nice lips that had caught Erin's eye yesterday. She purposely stared straight ahead. I suppose we need to be on the same page ASAP so we get used to it, Agent.
I'm Marcus tonight, my sweet fiancé.
Erin sighed. Okay. Do you have to rub it in? Am I that repellent? He asked. Can I apologize to you again for starting off on the wrong foot? I'm truly sorry. Please forgive me. She gazed at him, surprised at the sincerity in his voice. I suppose I'm being childish about it all. I let you get under my skin yesterday. Marcus? We need to agree on a wedding date, Cassandra. Details so we don't get caught in a lie. How about September 21st? I told Darla at the salon we're getting married in September, because the weather is good then. He nodded. First day of autumn it is. I'll try to remember. He added with a wry smile. No orneriness, Mr. Romero. You have my word. Scout's honor. You weren't a scout. I was. Eagle Scout, no less. I was kind of an overachiever and got every single merit badge that was available. Ah, you just had to show up all the other boys, huh? He gave a chuckle. Something like that. How long have we been a couple? Where did we meet? Gosh, I hadn't thought about all that. Okay, let's see. How about we met on a blind date? That's good, because tonight does feel like a blind date. My old college roommate, Jake, knew your best friend. Lila, Erin supplied. So Jake and Lila set us up. We've been engaged for 6 months. Where did I propose? On a park bench at Muir Woods across the Golden Gate Bridge. Seriously? I love redwood trees. They're my favorite. You surprised me with a diamond engagement ring. It was my birthday. Which is? June 27th. He tapped his temple as if trying to memorize it all. Then he gave a small grunt. Almost forgot. I have a diamond ring for you. Braden reached into a pocket and pulled out a ring, glittering with a 2-carat stone and surrounded by rubies. Wow, that's quite a ring, Erin said. You shouldn't have, Marcus. Nothing's too good for my woman, Braden quipped in return. I'm surprised the Bureau sprung for an actual ring. They didn't exactly. The diamond is cubic zirconia, and the rest are red glass rubies. I think it was used for another job last year. Cheapskates, then, Erin said, her lips twitching. Braden grinned at her. So tell me, where will we get married? Still figuring that out. Okay, vague is good. We can say that we're still checking out potential venues. How about our honeymoon? Erin lifted her chin and gave him an impudent glare. Why is your mind going to our honeymoon? Because that's what men think about. Or do women ponder those things too? Of course we do, Erin retorted. Immediately, a second hot blush raced up her face. And, Braden/Marcus added. Because the groom plans the honeymoon, as well as pays for it. Now you're talking. Where are you taking me for our honeymoon? It's a surprise. Erin made a face. It has to be the coast of Italy, or else a Greek island. For a month. In a mansion. You're not picky. And you have expensive taste. I'll have to save for a year on my salary. We're rich oil millionaires, remember? He chuckled. Of course we are. And what do we do if one of those nosy guests wants to see us kiss? We tell them we're waiting for our wedding day." At that, Braden let out a belly laugh. "You are quite the woman, Miss Fairfax." "Cassandra. We're on a first-name basis now." "Hey," Braden said, reaching out to touch her hand. "We're here." "Already?" Erin took a deep breath. "I'm not used to undercover or alias-type jobs, you know. I hope I don't blow it." "You'll be fine. Great, in fact. And remember, I want you to tell me more about the Romanov family and Fabergé Eggs. You're the historian, you know." "That will be our conversation topic of the evening, while we're eating canapés and sipping champagne. Except I'm not big on champagne." "Ah, we should have stopped for gigantic Cokes at the corner gas station to get us through the evening." "Funny you should say that. I was thinking the exact same thing back at the beauty salon." "No worries. Adrenaline will kick in soon." "I hope so, because I have a huge bout of nerves. I've never been good at meeting new people and doing the party small talk thing." "Before I forget," Braden said, "you have your magic cell phone, right?" "Yep. It's magical, huh?" she asked with a grin. "It's a secure line and can only be used to communicate with each other in case we get separated. You can send texts, too." "Technology is so advanced these days," Erin said, widening her eyes as if in awe as she pulled the tiny cell phone out of her evening bag. "Okay, smart Alec. Let's make sure we're synced up." They took a moment to test the phones, and then Erin tucked hers back into her evening bag. "And here we are," Braden said, gazing out the window. The limousine glided into an empty spot in front of the palatial mansion. Lights blazed in every window. Fountains sparkled under the night sky of stars. Luxury foliage flanked brick and stone pathways and gardens. Erin gulped. This house? This gorgeous monstrosity of wealth? I'm not worthy to go inside a house like that. There's a rumor this is the most expensive house in San Francisco. Are you trying to make me feel worse? Braden gave a quick laugh and then jumped out of the limo. He dashed around the back of the vehicle and opened Erin's door with a flourish. "Milady," he said, stretching out a warm hand to take hers and help her out of the limousine. His touch sent unexpected shivers down Erin's spine. Seriously? What was all that about? It must be the magic of the night. The fancy house, the gorgeous dress. She didn't even look or feel like her normal self. It was all pretend. A fairy tale. No, it was a job. And she needed to focus and not get swept away with silly details or nerves. After Braden shut the back door of the limo, he wrapped an arm around Erin's waist to escort her up the sidewalk toward the front grounds of the house. "Hey, buddy, getting fresh?" she said, attempting to move away from him while she extricated his arm. Agent Moretti leaned down to murmur into Erin's ear. "Hey, we're engaged. We're supposed to be in love, so we need to act like it. But I'll try not to make you uncomfortable with too much touching, okay?" Erin swallowed. Okay, she grumbled. "Honestly, you're a real trooper. I know it's going to be a tough night," he added sympathetically. "Let me know if I come on too strong during the evening." "Thanks, I appreciate that," Erin told him. It was nice to know that Braden was aware of how awkward this could be for both of them. Braden added, "Okay, let's smile and hold our heads up like rich oil heirs. And you will be the princess of the ball. You look like $1,000,000, you know." "You really think so?" "I know so. You're a darn attractive woman, Cassandra Fairfax." "Well, thank you," Erin said primly. It was nice to hear, especially coming from such a handsome man like Agent Moretti. His confidence and charm was a little overwhelming, too. Plus, even wearing stiletto heels, Erin still had to tilt her head a bit to look at him. It was always nice to have a man tall enough for her. She found herself staring at his broad chest and wide shoulders. Then she blinked. Enough of that. Focus. Concentrate. Letting out a slow exhale, she couldn't help but think that it was going to be a long night. "Doesn't it feel like we just stepped into a high-octane James Bond movie?" Erin confessed. The sprawling mansion with high-end sports cars on the street, the manicured grounds and magnificent front entrance. I was thinking the same thing. Braden/Marcus murmured in his husky voice. "If I wasn't Marcus tonight, I'd ask you to call me James." Erin couldn't help laughing at that. "Next time around, we'll pick our own aliases." "Next time, Cassandra?" he asked with a wink that made Erin melt a little. They moved over the stone pathways past lovely dripping willows and clusters of eucalyptus trees, as well as a sparkling fountain lit up with Christmas lights. At the front door, a butler extended his gloved hand. Braden, now Marcus Romero for the rest of the night, handed over a gold-engraved invitation. "Thank you, sir," the butler said. "Please enjoy your evening, ma'am," he added with a nod to Erin. An impressive entryway featured a chandelier dripping with teardrop clusters of lighted glass, marble floors, and a graceful double staircase assaulted every one of Erin's senses. "Wow," she whispered. "This house is amazing. How much did you say the most expensive San Francisco house cost?" "Close to 30 million. Now close your mouth, lift your jaw, and smile." Erin gave him a small punch in the ribs as they moved slowly through the entryway, toward an open room on the right where the owner of the house and his wife were greeting guests. "Yes, boss." When Braden's hand smoothed down her arm to take Erin's fingers in his and lace their hands together, tingles ran rampant along her body. She sucked in a breath, wavering on her feet. A moment later, they stood in front of their host and hostess. This must be Jack and Olivia Donnelly. Erin had memorized most of the details from the dossier file. "Marcus Romero," Braden said easily, a quick smile on his lips. "This is my fiancé, Cassandra Fairfax." Jack Donnelly grasped Erin's arm tightly in his fist. She sucked in air, forcing herself not to yelp or wrench her arm out of his dominating hand. "Now you're a gorgeous thing, aren't you? Lucky man, Romero." Olivia Donnelly didn't seem to notice or be bothered by her husband's attention. Maybe Jack said this sort of thing to every woman he met. "Cassandra," Mrs. Donnelly said, "I'm glad you could attend our little holiday gathering." "Thank you for the invitation, Mrs. Donnelly. Your home is absolutely beautiful." The woman wore a floor-length silver gown, her graying hair perfectly coiffed, red lipstick staining her mouth. "Please call me Olivia. By the end of the evening, we'll all be a little drunk and on a first-name basis. Might as well loosen up early rather than later." Jack laughed, his shoulders moving up and down with mirth. "The missus is right. So when do you two tie the knot?" he asked, staring at Erin in an appraising manner, while she tried not to squirm under his intense gaze. "September, actually." "Perfect month for a wedding," Olivia declared, nodding in approval while she turned to the next guests. "We must have a moment to talk business, Romero," Jack Donnelly said to Braden, slapping him on the shoulder. "I understand you're a descendant of the Claremont oil family. You might be interested in my little art collection." "You heard right," Braden said easily. Cassandra and I look forward to seeing your paintings and sculptures. You have quite the reputation for fine art."
"It's never too early to begin decorating your home," Erin added with a smile.
"Where did you two end up buying?"
Jack asked.
"Oh, we're still looking," Braden said casually. "Perhaps the Coit Tower area, or Sausalito across the bay. Cassandra loves a good ocean view."
Erin smiled up at him, tempted to bat her false eyelashes just to give Braden a hard time.
Jack said, "I'll hook you up with my realtor. He'll do you good. I'll tell him so myself. Every newlywed couple needs to start married life outright." "Much appreciated," Braden said.
Olivia interrupted. "Now let them enter the party, Jack, and find the open bar. Nearly everything is upstairs, the ballroom for dancing as well as food. Please feel free to wander the house. We decorated every room for the holidays. It's quite the tour. Enjoy the evening and thank you for coming." As they sauntered away from the receiving line, Erin murmured,
"Well, that was easy. We even got an invitation to explore the house."
"Advantageous,"
Braden said, slipping his hand under hers again. "That's typical of Christmas parties in this part of town. Like an open house with all the glitz and booze you could want."
"I'm shaking," Erin confessed, blowing out a breath to help her relax.
"You did great. Charming and not a hint of nerves."
"It sounds like you attend fancy house parties every weekend."
"It just comes natural, I guess," he teased her, squeezing her hand. "Part of my training to be whoever people want me to be."
"So you're admitting that you're actually a chameleon?" Erin said pointedly, lifting an eyebrow. "A fake? An imitation of a real person?"
"I wouldn't go that far," he said, amused.
"Wipe that smug smile off your face," she ordered.
"Shh, is that any way to talk to your beloved fiancé?"
Braden said in a low voice.
"Smile at the guests. Act like we're in love."
"Huh, you wish."
Agent Moretti merely grinned as if her sharp-edged words didn't bother him in the slightest.
"You must have taken acting lessons or something," Erin growled under her breath. "Well, I was the lead in Hamlet in high school. 11th grade drama class is such good training, you know."
Erin pasted on a smile as she murmured a hello when they passed a few more guests on their way upstairs. Blowing out a quick breath, she added, "I seem to recall in our notes that we're on a special list for a viewing of the artifact in question."
"That's right, darling,"
Braden said as another couple brushed past them on the curving staircase.
"Howell got it arranged somehow. We're to be retrieved at a certain point. We even have a shot at the private auction to purchase it. We come from wealthy oil families, after all."
"What's our upper limit for bidding?"
10 million.
Erin choked, and Braden patted her soothingly on the back, the picture of a solicitous fiancé.
"Are you okay, sweetheart?"
"I'm fine. I suppose it makes sense. I've done my own personal research, and this particular objet d'art last auctioned 20 years ago for a little over 9 million. It's gotta be worth 3 times that now."
Chapter 5. It's All an Act.
"Do tell me more,"
Braden said with a chuckle.
"You promised me a story yesterday, you know."
"I will," Erin told him airily, "after we get to see it for ourselves." At the top of the double curving staircase lay a wide hallway of glistening marble floors and gold leaf motifs. Straight ahead was an impressive columned breezeway that led to a gorgeous ballroom. Erin couldn't refrain from gasping at the magnificent room. The ceilings were painted with murals that reminded her of European castles. Corniced corners and plaster friezes.
a shiny ballroom where a live three-piece band was playing 1940s big band era dance music. The open bar was busy, and the catering team was laying out the finishing touches of platters of food on snowy white linens, on tables decorated with flowers, poinsettias, and Christmas garland. Near the catered banquet tables, laden with food, stood an enormous 20-foot-tall Christmas tree, loaded with glittering red ornaments, luxurious garland, and a sparkling lighted star shimmering so high it almost brushed the ceiling. "That's the kind of tree that I always dreamed about as a kid," Erin confessed. "Me too," Braden agreed, slipping an arm around her shoulders to draw her close and kiss the top of her hair. "It's pretty spectacular." Erin muttered under her breath, "You seem like such a natural with this affection business and pretending to be a couple." Braden put a finger to his lips, glancing about for listening ears, but the band was too loud to be overheard by anyone. "Our little secret." Erin narrowed her eyes. "Do you do this often?" "Nope," he said with a grin. "First time for everything. But you make it easy." Erin wasn't sure he actually meant that, since she'd been a little bit of a brat to him earlier, but the mansion house was quickly filling with people. Guests dressed in gowns and tuxedos sauntered up the various staircases while carrying champagne or a stemmed wine glass in their hands. "You hungry, Marcus?" Erin asked, a teasing lilt to her voice. "I'll fill a plate for you with your favorite foods." "You don't know my favorite foods." Now it was her turn to shush him so they weren't overheard. "I'll make a wild guess. Buttered slugs and horseradish on spinach greens." "You are incorrigible, Cassandra," he told her. "You just stole my line, Marcus." "Let's have one dance first," Braden suggested. "Then eat." Dancing wasn't part of the game plan, Erin protested. "It is now. Besides, I'm a terrific dancer. My mother taught me." Braden bent to whisper in her ear. "Plus, dancing is an easy way for us to look like a couple in love." Before Erin could protest again, Braden had whirled her onto the dance floor and was slipping his arms around her waist, tightening his fingers around hers in a romantic grip while he held her against his chest. Erin's brain whirled. Agent Moretti, Braden, Marcus for tonight, this man, the warmth of his body against hers, his smooth, masculine jawline brushing against her cheek. All of him caused her knees to wobble. Hyper-aware of his hand on the small of her back, Erin tried to slow her breathing down, a stiff smile on her lips so she didn't betray the effect he had on her. This was all just business. A job. Nothing more. He probably held every woman like this when he danced with them. She was nothing special. In fact, he often annoyed her, although she realized that part of her annoyance could be blamed squarely on herself. With a grace she couldn't deny, Braden moved her across the dance floor, slowly turning this way and that as they dodged a few other couples. Erin loved the music of the big band era. She could almost hear the voices of Sinatra and Gene Kelly singing in their distinctive voices with the live band. This was her grandparents' era, and maybe her great-grandparents', and a great choice for a Christmas party. Timeless ballads and love songs sprinkled with lots of holiday medleys. "Your mama taught you well," Erin complimented. "Thanks. She was on a dance team in college, then competed in international ballroom style until she started a family." After a couple of foxtrots and a slow swing, Braden twirled Erin under his arm, then bowed when the band announced a 15-minute break. He was a good actor. Better than she was. He was smooth. Very smooth. Erin figured anybody watching would never suspect that they actually barely knew each other. Had only met yesterday under annoying circumstances. "You're good, Cassandra," he said in a low voice, as if reading her mind. "That was fun. I haven't danced in ages." There aren't many places where traditional couples dancing can be found, she agreed. Except for country western bars or nightclubs with hard rock or experimental music and lots of drunk people. Braden smiled at her. "I'll wager there will be a lot of drunk people here in a few hours." True. There might be a long line of Uber and Lyft cars about 2 a.m.
"Aren't you two the cutest couple ever?" a voice called out. A woman with platinum blonde hair and wearing a half-gallon of perfume grabbed at Erin's hand and swung it. "And you," she added, gazing up at Braden, "are delicious. Are you a model?" Erin lifted her eyebrows as Braden blushed and tried to laugh it off. "No modeling on my resume, ma'am." "Sorry for interrupting," the woman hurried on. "I'm Charlene Williams, best friends with Olivia Donnelly, our hostess."
"Marcus Romero," Braden said, introducing himself. "This is my fiancé, Cassandra Fairfax."
"Oh, I already know that. Olivia told me all about you two. She told me that you were recently engaged, too. How fun is that? When's the wedding? Do you have your dress yet? I can give you a list of good caterers and beautiful halls to rent. Just give me your number and we can text."
Erin's mind was trying to catch up. Olivia. Oh, yes. The wife of Jack Donnelly. The owners of the house they had met 30 minutes earlier in the receiving line. That should be on the tip of her tongue. They were in the file after all. It was Braden's fault she was distracted. "I don't have my phone with me," Erin said lamely, then realized with a gut punch how stupid that sounded. Most people knew their own numbers after all. Of course, after tonight, she didn't plan on seeing or talking to any of the guests, let alone carry on a pseudo-friendship with a woman who wanted to give her wedding pointers.
"But you can give me your number anyway, sweetie," Charlene went on with a giggle.
"What Cassandra means is that she doesn't have her number memorized," Braden said quickly. "She likes to input her contacts under names instead of numbers. Besides, her personal assistant takes care of her schedule and is doing much of the wedding planning."
"Well, of course, someone like you wouldn't be navigating the mundane to-do list. I'm sure you have a professional wedding planner. Who are you using?"
Erin tried to remain unflustered. "I'm still interviewing wedding planners."
"You need to get on that, especially if your wedding is in 9 months.
That's the #1 item on my to-do list for Christmas break. Charlene lowered her voice and leaned closer.
People like us don't really get breaks, do we? Even if we have housekeepers and business managers."
"Isn't that the truth?" Erin said, linking her arm through Braden's elbow and tugging just a tiny bit. He got the hint. "If you'll excuse us, Mrs. Donnelly. We're going to make our way to your fantastic banquet."
"Party's just getting started," Charlene said gaily.
"So lovely to meet you," Erin added. "Thank you for all the advice." Charlene gave one last tidbit.
"Give your maid of honor her own to-do list. That will help enormously. Now I'll leave you two lovebirds alone."
She disappeared into the jostling guests that was growing by the minute. A crowd of elegantly dressed women with piles of hair, thick makeup, and jeweled handbags, accompanied by men of every age in tuxedos. "I suppose there's no rush," Braden said, appraising the loaded banquet tables, decorated with bouquets of fresh hothouse flowers and dripping red and gold candles. I think there's enough food here to feed twice this many people. We'll do early dinner, then a second late dinner if we need fortifications. Parties like this often go on all night."
"Yummy," Erin said with a sly smile. Braden laughed and handed her a gleaming china plate. 15 minutes later, they had loaded their plates with beautiful hors d'oeuvres, spears of ham and cheese and caviar, as well as flaky croissants and fluted glasses of sparkling cider. No alcohol, but it looked like champagne, so they blended in with the other guests. Braden found them a small tabletop on the far side of the ballroom, where they could observe the guests. An hour later, after eating dinner and even dessert, Erin tapped her foot and tried to suppress a yawn.
"It's nearly 10:30.
"Party's just getting started,"
Braden said with a calmness that irritated Erin. It was true. Most people were just sitting down to their dinner plates, conversation increasing in volume. The band's lead singer was now crooning into a microphone. "Sorry, just nerves. I want tonight to be over already."
"Maybe we need to get a little drunk. It would help pass the time."
"Sorry, no."
"We could find an empty room and make out?"
She hissed. Double no.
"It was a joke, Cassandra."
He reached over to hold her hand across the table in a fake loving gesture, and Erin gave him a weak smile. "Sorry, I'm on edge. Nervous energy."
"You really do look fantastic, my love."
"You can quit buttering me up, Marcus," she teased in return, laughing gaily as guests passed by in an effort to act like they were in love. Fake relationships were stressful. That's all there was to it. It might have been easier if she and Braden had known each other before. Although, maybe not. It might be even more awkward with a buddy/friend. One of the Donnelly House butlers suddenly appeared at Braden's elbow, speaking in low tones.
"This way, miss. Sir. I'll take you now."
Erin's breath caught. This was it. She was actually going to see a Fabergé egg created more than 100 years ago. It was something she had never expected to experience in her entire life. If the egg was real, that is. With a flawless smoothness, Braden rose and lifted Erin to her feet. "This way, darling," he murmured, looking every bit like a 19th century aristocrat. They followed the butler out of the ballroom and down a long hallway with the most exquisite parquet flooring and stained glass windows. The party's music and chatter diminished when they came to the end of the hallway and the butler ushered them into an elevator. The doors slid closed and he pressed an unmarked button. The elevator shot up at least 2 stories. The mansion was a multi-storied Victorian after all. As if channeling her thoughts, Braden asked the butler, "What year was the house built? It's a magnificent piece of architecture." 1872, sir. Mr. Donnelly purchased the property 10 years ago and did quite a bit of remodeling. I agree that the refurbishing of the property was splendidly executed. The doors slid open and the butler held out his hand for them to disembark while holding the elevator door open. A quiet, carpeted hallway appeared before them. "Straight ahead, sir. Turn to the right at the end of the hallway and you will be directed from there."
"Very good,"
Braden said. The butler and the elevator whooshed out of sight 3 seconds later. Chapter 6. Special Invitation. They were alone in the empty hall. Erin took a deep breath and mouthed a, "Wow." Braden grinned down at her and she slipped his arm through his while they moved forward, their steps noiseless on the plush forest green carpet. Chandeliers glittered overhead every 10 feet or so. The paneled walls were a rich, polished mahogany. They passed a dusky sitting room,
then a beautiful library that smelled of lemon and cigars. Heart pounding in her throat, Erin followed Braden down the intersecting hallway. At the very end, the hall opened up into an art gallery, an attendant at the door. "Please come in, sir. Ma'am," the attendant said. "May I see your special request card?" Braden put a hand inside his suit coat and pulled out the white card embossed with gold letters. "You are invited to attend a personal showing of the Fabergé Winter Egg art piece on Saturday, December 15th at the Donnelly Mansion Christmas party." Erin let out a small, surprised cough. So, Agent Moretti got the invitation card in his packet. Darn her boss, Agent Howell. She was perfectly capable of handling it. She was the amateur expert about Russian artifacts and artwork. Despite the low growl in her throat, Braden tugged her into the large, airy room, as if he could read her thoughts. Inset windows wrapped around the Hall of Art. It was dark outside now, of course, but Erin could only imagine what the room looked like during the day. Beautiful, light-filled, and warm as a sunny summer day, even though it was dreary December. Even at night, Jack and Olivia Donnelly had done their best to include several light sources. Lamps and chandeliers brought light into each corner of the room, showing off the paintings and sculptures that the Donnelly family had acquired over the years. "May we look at the paintings and other artwork as well?" Erin asked the man standing at the door. She noticed that Agent Moretti was doing his agent thing, his eyes flickering discreetly about the room, the entrance and exit, the guards, and the layout for any potential future trouble. Nobody else would notice, especially when he used a wide-eyed, innocent stare as if he was an art lover overcome by the beauty of the pieces. She had to admit that Braden, aka Marcus Romero, was good. If she didn't know the telltale subterfuge and signs of what she was witnessing, she would never have guessed that he was actually scoping the place out. A tingle of excitement jumped into her throat. "I can't believe I get to see the actual Fabergé Winter Egg," she said, giving a little jump on her heels to capture the attention of the attendant at the door. Another one of Donnelly's butlers or a security guard? Erin gave him a wide-eyed smile when she spotted the small bulge at the man's hip under his jacket. Yep, he was packing. He was security, all right. "Miss, you only get 5 minutes. You may spend it looking at anything you would like, but since you're here to bid on the Winter Egg, I suggest you spend the time there." "Well, of course," she said, fluffing at her hair and giving a tiny shake of her hips in an effort to distract him. "I've been reading about Fabergé and his incredible eggs for the Russian royal family since my college days. Sort of a hobby of mine." "To think we can actually make a private bid for it, darling," Braden said, slipping an arm around Erin's hips to give her a possessive embrace. Erin forced herself not to grimace, but to look up into his handsome face as though she was overcome by her fiancé. The guard gave them an indulgent smile. "You are newly married?" "Is it that obvious?" Braden asked with a small chuckle, leaning in to kiss Erin's hair. "Not married yet," Erin said, lifting her left hand to show off her diamond ring. "We're engaged, though. It's so exciting." The man visibly relaxed, and Erin smiled inwardly. They were just two beautiful rich people gaga for each other and here to buy the art piece, if their bidding price won out at the end. "This way, miss," the man said, leading the way to the center of the room. They passed a few Italian sculptures, some cases of Egyptian jewelry and crowns, and even a Monet hanging under a special light of its own on the wall. Erin wished she had an hour to explore the room, but they were here for one purpose, and the clock was ticking. Not a moment later, they were standing in front of a tall glass case perched on a cherry wood pedestal. A snowy white linen covered the glass, hiding the piece momentarily. A gold plate placard attached to the stand read, "The Winter Egg, created by jeweler Peter Carl Fabergé, designed by Alma Pill, commissioned by the Russian royal Romanov family in 1913. The Winter Egg was an Easter gift from Tsar Nicholas II to his mother, Dowager Empress Maria Fyodorovna." The butler/guard lifted his eyes to Erin's face and gave a nod. Then he lifted the linen in one sweeping gesture. Erin froze in place, and time seemed to stop. Her heart skipped a beat as she sucked in a breath, unable to exhale for several long seconds. Tears pricked at the back of her eyes. The Fabergé winter egg was inches from her face. More breathtaking than she had ever dreamed. More exquisite than any jewel or artwork she had ever seen in her life, including the crown jewels in the Tower of London, or the paintings of Rembrandt at the Louvre that were so lifelike it appeared as though the people he'd painted would blink their eyes, jump out of the frame, and begin a conversation. The winter egg was over 5 inches tall and sat on a sculptured rock crystal pedestal that was formed to look like melting ice. The interior glass of the egg itself was engraved with sparkling silver to simulate ice crystals. Platinum-mounted rose diamond rivulets. The effect was of an icy cold winter day in Russia, like streaks of ice on frosted window panes. The egg-shaped structure opened perpendicular, cutting the egg in half lengthwise instead of through the center, so it opened up to show off a hollow and breathtaking interior. Inside the egg lay the hope of a new spring day. A basket of perfection had been created out of woven filigree strands of gold to create a trellis look. Inside the basket was a profusion of Russian flowers set with rose diamonds and wood anemones on a mound of moss created from gold. Each flower was carved from a single piece of white quartz with a gold wire stem and stamens. The center of each flower was set with a garnet. Some of the flowers were half open or merely a small bud, and the leaves had been carved out of nephrite as if emerging from a bed of gold moss. "Breathe, Cassandra," Braden whispered into her ear. He placed a pair of warm hands on her shoulders to steady her. I can barely take a breath," she stuttered, wiping at the corner of her eyes. "It's more beautiful, more incredible. Honestly, there are no words, Marcus," she whispered, maintaining a semblance of composure to quickly correct her near blunder by using his CIA alias. "It's really something," he agreed, moving slowly around the pedestal to inspect it from all sides. "I have to admit that I wasn't expecting anything quite like this." Braden glanced at the man. "How many diamonds are there in the piece, do you know?" He nodded. "I believe there are more than 1,600 diamonds. I've heard Mr. Donnelly speak of it." Oh, I must have it," Erin burst out in a hoarse whisper, breaking her gaze at the jeweled egg to look up into Braden's handsome face, Marcus Romero's face, her fiancé. They were acting now, playing it by ear, tagging each other to make it all look real. They had not talked about this moment, how to play it, but it seemed to be working. The guard smiled indulgently at them. Agent Howell was right. A fake fiancé relationship did make the perfect cover. "Oh, darling, I'm sorry," Erin said now with a little shake of her head. "I'm so demanding. I have loved this for so long. I can't imagine it belonging to anybody else but me. You do understand, don't you?" Braden took her hands into his large, warm palms and kissed her knuckles. "I thought your dream of owning the winter egg was a passing fancy, but I can see how moved you are by it. I am too, if I'm honest." he added with a soft chuckle, gazing into her eyes. Erin was careful not to break their gaze and glance at the guard. They had to pretend they were the only two people in the room. "So, we can place a bid?" she whispered, forcing herself not to let her eyes flicker. She had to remain Cassandra Fairfax. She lowered her voice to speak confidentially. "We can move our reserves around. The cash should be easy to come up with." "Of course. Let's go discuss," Braden said, gripping her hands in both of his as they spoke, inches apart. At last, he tore his eyes away from Erin's face. That entire conversation felt a little too real, as if she wasn't Erin any longer but had become someone else. Not Cassandra Fairfax, but a woman bursting with desire, not just for the Fabergé winter egg, but for Marcus, her pretend fiancé. Shivers raced up and down Erin's neck and arms, making her tremble as if she were cold. Why did this man make her want to strangle him and kiss him all at the same time? "How do we place a bid?" Braden asked the butler. "I have a special card reserved for you." He handed it over, including an envelope. "Write your bid on this card and seal it in the envelope. Someone will find you and fetch it." Erin gave a small cough. "Yes, miss," the butler said, turning to peer into her face. I was wondering if it was possible to look at the art, to examine it and hold it in my hands before placing a bid." The butler only paused a second before swiftly answering. "But of course, miss. Anyone who is to purchase the artwork must have the chance to look at it up close. I must ask Mr. Donnelly first, though." "Of course, thank you," Braden told the man. "And now, if you please, the next guest is about to arrive." He escorted them to a side door, and Erin tried not to jump when Braden slipped his hand in hers to maintain their pretense while the butler opened the door leading into a different part of the original hallway. After a few steps toward the intersection of the hallways, Erin turned to look at the door again. She tugged at Braden's arm, whispering, "Do you see anything strange about this hallway and the door into the Donnellys' art gallery?" Braden's brow knit together. "What are you referring to?" Erin lowered her voice even more. "Look back at the door we just came through. Can you see the outline of it? Can you see the outline of it? Or any light coming from underneath?" "Huh. You're right. If I didn't know any better, I wouldn't see a doorway at all." They scurried further away so they weren't overheard, but Erin wondered if there were cameras watching them. A definite shiver caused goosebumps on her arms. It's well camouflaged. Probably because there are tens of millions of dollars in art inside there. Only Donnelly's invited guests are allowed up here, though. A couple of minutes later, they had returned to the elevator at the end of the first hallway. He's a paranoid man, not trusting at all, like most wealthy people, ha ha. "You're probably right," Braden said as they entered the elevator where another security guy was standing to take them back down to the ballroom floor. They were quiet during the ride, but when they reached the next floor and the doors swished open, the lights and music of the party engulfed them once more. "What's our next step?" Erin asked in a low voice. Pausing in the ballroom doorway, Braden leaned in as if nuzzling her ear for a moment, camouflaging his mouth by her long, wavy hair. "I've just received a secure communication from my team who are standing by. We don't have enough information to go on yet, but they have sanctioned the release of $1 million deposit to prove our interest in the art piece and give us a chance to look at it. We need to win that bid, but we have to examine the winter egg up close, That's the only way to tell if it's a copy or the genuine thing. I think both our bosses will be incredibly angry if we give Donnelly $1 million and it's a forgery. Hopefully Donnelly's guard up there is telephoning him right now. Is your boss going to release the money to Donnelly right away? Braden shook his head. They're under instructions as my bankers to verify the money is there, and the wire transfer is all set up the moment we get the bid. Meanwhile, Braden broke off when Charlene burst upon them once more. "I just adore young love," she gushed. "And weddings! And did you know that you're standing under the mistletoe right this very minute? And you know what that means, you two lovers." She clapped her hands in delight. Erin gave a start. What? Mistletoe? She tilted her head back and tried to focus upward at the doorframe. Shock reverberated in her chest. Sure enough, there was an enormous bouquet of green mistletoe leaves and clusters of white berries hanging over their heads. Chapter 7. Don't You Dare Laugh. Erin gulped as she stared at Braden. Her heart pounded while her ears roared with the outrageous situation. They were supposed to be fake fiancés, but nobody had ever said they would actually have to kiss each other. Braden gazed down at her, then gave her a soft, sweet smile. "I think this calls for a kiss, don't you, Cassandra?" No, no, no! Erin's mind screamed. How mortifying to kiss Braden Moretti. How embarrassing. They were colleagues, and too often combative colleagues at that. This woman Charlene was getting annoying. How could they accomplish their mission tonight with her hanging around? Worst of all, how would she ever live down kissing Braden Moretti while working their covert mission? And yet, every touch by the man tonight was spine-tingling and exciting. When he put his arm around her or held her hand, he was warm and friendly and protective. And now he was coming closer, bending over her, his face closing in on hers. He stuck a finger under her chin and tilted her face up toward his. A soft smile crossed his face, his expression filled with warmth and desire, but with a bit of tart, as if he were inwardly laughing at the situation. "Don't you dare laugh," she hissed under her breath. "Never," he replied, his breath sweet and spicy right before his warm, full lips met hers in a tender yet provocative kiss. Before Erin could think about what she was doing, her arms were going around Braden's neck, pulling him in tighter and closer, as if they had a mind of their own. Their bodies melded together, kissing over and over again while they tasted each other in kiss after sensuous kiss. Braden put a hand against the back of her head, holding her still, his large frame surrounding her like a sexy blanket. All of a sudden, there was the sound of clapping, and one of the male guests let out a whooping cheer. Erin broke the kiss and leaned backward. Her eyes went cross-eyed, her brain turned to mush, and her body became limp. But Braden continued to hold her in his strong arms so she didn't fall over. Hands down, that was the best kiss she'd ever had in her life. Of course, she'd never tell Braden that. "How utterly sweet and romantic!" Charlene crowed, clapping her hands. A few of the woman's friends gathered around, and the sound of applause echoed in the high-ceilinged ballroom. Braden straightened, kissed Erin on the cheek, and then took her hand in his again in a warm clasp. "Okay, show over," he called out good-naturedly. "It's not Christmas without mistletoe," Charlene said with a trill in her voice. "Cassandra and Marcus make a beautiful couple," she added. "They're getting married, did you know?" Erin gave a tight smile, trying desperately to appear nonchalant. "Let's dance again." Braden suggested, rescuing Erin away from the gawking and tipsy guests. 5 seconds later, they were away from the enemy doorway with hanging mistletoe, disappearing into the now crowded dance floor. So why did Erin feel a stutter of disappointment in her chest? "Thanks," Erin muttered, unable to look Braden in the eye. "I'm so embarrassed. We really stepped into that one." "Makes it all the more real, though, doesn't it?" "Makes what real?" "That we're engaged." "In your dreams, Romeo." "Hey, a guy can dream," he said, laughing at her. "Don't you dare laugh at me," Erin ordered, her eyes widening with a ferocious glare. "Careful there, my beautiful fiancé. We can't look like we're fighting." "Oh, shut up," she said with a light giggle. He merely tightened his arm around her waist, leaning into her hair and swaying to a slow foxtrot. "Hey, I like this song, and you're wearing red and gold, so it's perfect." The band was playing the romantic song Lady in Red. "Don't get fresh with me." "Sorry, I think I already did." "Only out of necessity." Braden pulled back slightly, a hurt look on his face. "Hey, it wasn't that bad, was it?" "I'll plead the fifth on that." "All right, suit yourself. I thought it was pretty spectacular, actually." Was he saying that to get a rise out of her? Needling her? Was he making fun of her? Did he really think their kiss had been spectacular? Erin's brain was scrambled, her lips still tingling from the sensation of his mouth on hers. It was spectacular, but she wasn't going to tell him that. "Do you want to get slapped?" "Nope, not at all, Miss Fairfax." "Maybe a second chance in the limo on the way home?" Erin could only growl. Although he looked so innocent and boyish, she was trying not to laugh. "Drop it. We'll stop talking and enjoy the song. Come on, keep dancing with me," he coaxed. They were quiet for a few moments while they moved around the dance floor. Braden Moretti was a good dancer, smooth and easy to follow. Erin couldn't stop thinking about his lips on hers. That wicked, powerful sensation she had felt with Braden's mouth on hers. The sensation his kiss had stirred in her belly just about knocked her over. Those big green eyes gazed into hers, and she wanted to touch Braden's dark, wavy hair. His wide shoulders and broad chest held her in the most disarming manner. Darn him. He was getting better looking with every passing moment, and she was finding herself drawn more and more to him. Braden's cheek brushed against hers, and he whispered, "Do you have a boyfriend I should be afraid of, Miss Fairfax? Especially after that amazing kiss. That's a question we never discussed." A catch tickled at Erin's throat. "No, not for a long time." She whispered back, "What happened?" "We met at Quantico, then got assigned to different field offices. Our long-distance relationship lasted for a year, but got too difficult, and we grew apart. And my family went through a really horrible time 3 years ago." "I apologize. I didn't mean to get personal. You don't need to talk about it. I just wanted to save myself a busted jaw if you had a boyfriend lurking in the background." "I appreciate your thoughtfulness," Erin told him slowly, testing her emotions and her heart, but there was no lingering feelings over Spencer Reynolds after 2 years since they went their separate ways. At the moment, that kiss with Braden under the mistletoe had sent her head and heart spinning in ways she'd never felt before. That was the most confounding thing. Confusing, and yet so delicious, too. Quickly, she tried to lighten the mood. "So tell me, what cologne are you wearing tonight? It's familiar, but I'm so discombobulated I can't remember what it's called."
Brute aftershave. An oldie but a goodie.
She cocked her chin at him. Did you wear that on purpose? I usually wear it. Why? Brute cologne is made by the famous Fabergé company. That's why. Fabergé Brute, the essence of a manly cologne. She added, just to tease him. Seriously? I never paid much attention. It must be in my subconscious then. Or I have exquisite taste. Or it's a secret code. She lightly punched his arm. Or all three. I suppose we're both really into the significance of Fabergé tonight, huh? Let's get another dessert and find a table, because you promised me the story of Fabergé Eggs and the royal Russian family. You honestly want to know? I do. I'm even more curious after seeing the winter egg for myself. Braden led Erin off the dance floor, and they found a small corner table away from the music, before heading to the banquet tables to pick out their desserts. A few minutes later, they brought back small china plates of cheesecakes, petit fours, and drizzled pastries, as well as tall goblets of ice water. After all the dancing and kissing we've been doing, we need a breather, he said, glancing at her as if to see if he was getting a rise out of her. Not funny. He held up his hands. Okay, I surrender to you, my Cassandra. Erin shook her head at the way he was talking, as if he was a gawky teenager again. She decided that talking would be more distracting while they waited for their host to take them back to the art gallery. Okay, Erin said, taking a tiny bite of her cheesecake. The Tsar of Russia purchased hundreds and hundreds of Carl Fabergé's jewelry and art pieces for his friends, family, and visiting foreign dignitaries. One year for Easter, back in the 1890s, he asked for something special for his wife and mother. Fabergé personally designed the first Easter eggs as gifts for the royal family. The craftsmanship was the finest at that time period. Still some of the finest ever produced in the history of gold and jewelry making. The royal family was completely delighted when Fabergé delivered it. What was the first egg like? It was a perfectly enameled white egg that opened in half by a clasp. Inside was a yellow yolk. Inside the yolk was a gold hen. The hen opened up to reveal a diamond and gold crown, which contained a ruby pendant for the Tsarina, the Empress, to wear. Braden gave a low whistle. I've never heard of anything like that. The Empress was so delighted, her husband began giving her and other family members Fabergé eggs at the Easter season every year. All of Fabergé's eggs had surprises in them. The family never knew what the artist was going to come up with next. The craftsmen who worked for Fabergé did the best enameling of any jewelry artist. They had a special method of layers upon layers of glazing, often in multicolors, that they fired in their ovens. It was painstaking and time-consuming, but it's truly perfection. How many Easter eggs did Fabergé create in total? I can't remember exactly, but more than 60. Why don't the Russians still own these family heirlooms? Why do art collectors have them? Or how does Christie's auction house acquire them for auction periodically? 10 of them are in the Moscow Museum. Others with the royal family in England. Still others in private collections like Jack Donnelly's. Did you know that Russian and British royal families are connected as distant cousins? I never knew that before I studied about it. Aren't most of the royal families of the world connected one way or another? To intermarry their children for alliances and power? Erin smiled. Exactly. But here comes the tragic part. I'm sure you've heard about the Russian Revolution, the Bolsheviks that rose to power. Of course, but I think my last history class was in high school. The last emperor and empress of Russia appeared to be a happy family. They had 5 children, 4 daughters and their youngest a son. In 1917, they were in their late teens and early 20s. None of them married yet. One of the daughters, the most well-known one, was the youngest, Anastasia. She was barely 17 years old, and her brother was about to turn 14. Ah, yes, Braden said, understanding coming into his eyes. The famous missing royal princess. I think I know what you're going to tell me. My world history class is coming back to me. Yep. In 1917, Russia was falling apart economically, its citizens starving, and there were uprisings. World War I was raging and the Bolsheviks took over. They deposed Tsar Nicholas II and then shot and killed the entire royal family, including their servants. It was gruesome. After they shot them, they bayoneted them and threw them into an unmarked grave, stripping the women of their personal jewels that they had hidden in their clothing. Almost 100 years passed before the graves were finally found and their bodies finally properly interred. That's really brutal to murder the entire royal family and their children. What happened to their possessions, like the Fabergé jewels and eggs? Erin bit at her lips, and Braden's eyes flickered to her mouth. She tried to ignore the flutter in her chest. They were robbed. Anything of value in the palaces were stolen, sold off, auctioned, passing from one hand to another over the last century. There are still a few of the original Fabergé eggs missing. Now I know why they're so valuable and sell for millions, Braden mused. Not only fine artwork, but so rare. Replicas of the eggs are crafted today. It's possible to buy one for not a whole lot of money, but there are those that try to sell fakes for millions. It's quite an enterprise. I've read that Russian fakes are big business around the world. Ah, here you are, Miss Fairfax and Mr. Romero, Jack Donnelly said, leaning over the table and gripping the back of Erin's chair. His dark eyes seemed to bore into hers, and she clutched at her fork with tight fingers. Had the man overheard their conversation? Had they said anything that would implicate their reason for being here? She glanced at Braden, and he smiled at her reassuringly. "Good evening, Mr. Donnelly," Erin said with a smooth smile. "I hope that seeing you is good news?" "I do have good news. Your deposit check has gone through without a hitch, although there are several other guests who are bidding as well. But I have granted the bidders to have an up-close and personal experience with the winter egg." "That's wonderful news," Braden said. "Except for the part where we need to outbid anybody else." He added with an easy smile. "Very true," Jack said with a sly grin, as if they were sharing a private joke. "If your bid is large enough, the Fabergé is yours, of course," he added. "And now you may hold the wondrous egg for yourself. Follow me." Erin slipped her arm through Braden's elbow and found herself walking behind Mr. Donnelly to retrace their steps upstairs and back to the art gallery. All was the same, except this time there were several burly men in suit coats standing guard in the hallway, and another 3 inside the gallery itself. Creepy prickles ran up her neck. Was this Jack Donnelly's way of showing a strong force? A message that he had his security people in place in case of any shenanigans? Did he know who she and Braden were? Surely not. There was no way he could know. Their aliases were watertight. Braden caught her eye and gave a nearly imperceptible nod as if they were thinking the same thing. Was Donnelly merely paranoid when it came to a $10 million piece of art, or preparing to do something illegal? A tall, thin man wearing a dark suit and butler attire came forward to greet them when the door was opened. His evening clothing was impeccable, his hair a salty gray. This was not the same man they had seen an hour earlier. "Ah, welcome, Miss Fairfax and Mr. Romero," he said in a cultured British voice. Erin wanted to nudge Braden and snicker over the man's butler voice. Did they go to butler school to learn that? Probably. She thought Braden would get a kick out of a quick laugh. And then it surprised her to be thinking of Braden that way, as if they were becoming friends this evening. What a strange idea that was. In fact, now that she thought about it, it felt like she and Braden had known each other longer than 24 hours. Closer to 36 by now. Being with him was becoming easy and natural. They'd chatted up a storm, eaten fabulous food, danced several times, and kissed. Erin shook her head, shaking out the crazy thoughts. She and Braden friends? That seemed impossible, but in spite of the inner tension she felt on this covert job, she was actually enjoying herself. And she had relished that kiss under the mistletoe much more than she wanted to admit. In fact, she kept thinking about it over and over again. They might have continued kissing if they hadn't been caught off guard by Charlene Williams, the meddling woman. Erin rearranged her features into the air of a millionaire oil heiress and swished her long dress skirt, making the gold filigree sparkle under the chandeliers. The butler gave a half bow. "Right this way, please, Miss Fairfax and Mr. Romero." Chapter 8. A Man of Superb Taste. At the sight of the winter egg, Erin's breath caught all over again. "A treasure, isn't it?" the butler said with a sober expression. "There are no words to describe it," Erin said. "Pictures don't do it justice. I simply must see it in my home on display." Braden casually said, "This will be my engagement gift to my beautiful fiancé." "You are a man of superb taste, sir," the butler said. "Oh, Marcus," Erin said, leaning into him as he placed an arm around her shoulder. "I'm a very lucky girl." While Jack Donnelly watched on the far side of the glass case where the winter egg lay, his butler opened the case with a key he produced from his inner coat pocket. Erin squinted for a moment and would have sworn she spotted something dark and bulky on the man's side, but it lasted for a split second and was gone. Probably a trick of the light. The man unlocked the case. He pulled on a pair of white gloves, then handed a pair to Erin to put on. "Thank you. I'm glad to know you're being careful with a 100-year-old art piece," she said with a touch of snobbery as she pulled the white gloves over her fingers and tugged them down over her wrists. The gloves were made from the finest kid-skin leather. The butler nodded but didn't speak. He lifted his chin for Erin to come closer and then placed the winter egg into her open palms. The piece was heavier than she expected, but the base was solid crystal, the exotic ice sculpture perfection itself. Braden stood on the other side of the egg, which was open to reveal the gold filigree and basket of jeweled Russian flowers. "Stay right there," she said, hoping the piece wouldn't slip from her hands. Erin glanced up at the butler and then at Mr. Donnelly. "I'd like to see the bottom of the piece, the workmaster's imprint." "Of course, miss," the butler murmured. "I'll hold it just so while you look." He tilted it ever so slightly toward him, and Erin crouched to read the Fabergé symbol and the tiny one of Alma Pill, the workmaster who designed the egg and helped to craft it. Alma Pill came from a family of gold masters and jewelry craftsmen, and she was only 23 years old when she created the winter egg. Simply astonishing. "May I look at the gold basket of flowers?" Erin asked in a voice barely above a whisper. "You may, Miss Fairfax." The butler lifted the basket and placed it in his palm. It was so small, and yet the details were a splendid perfection. It was almost impossible to think that someone actually made this with their own hands. Yes, there it was. On the underside of the egg, she could see the year the winter egg was made, 1913. It matched all the historical records when Alma Pill created it and the Romanov family received it. "Everything appears in order," she said at last, placing the basket back inside the egg. "Thank you for letting me see it up close. I crave it for my own collection all the more." Mr. Donnelly smiled and gave Erin a half bow. "It has a way of doing that." The butler placed the winter egg back into its glass case and then locked it again.
Any other questions, Miss Fairfax? Mr. Romero? None. Thank you for the personal time with such an outstanding piece of art,
Braden said with a magnanimous smile. Mr. Donnelly spread his hands and smiled again.
When it's millions of one's personal fortune on the line, it's the least I can do. The winning bid will be announced at midnight.
Erin gently pulled off the soft kid gloves, handing them back over to the butler before clasping her hands together as if in delight.
Only another hour until we have it for ourselves, darling, she said to Braden, who caught her against his chest and bestowed a kiss on her hair.
This way, if you please, the butler said, ushering Erin and Braden back to the door of the gallery, while Mr. Donnelly remained in the art gallery waiting for the next bidding guest. Chills ran up and down each of Erin's limbs as they passed the guards in the hallways on the way back to the elevator. She and Braden didn't speak until they were down the elevator and the doors opened once more in the ballroom. Quickly, Erin moved into the room, avoiding another mistletoe confrontation with Charlene or any of the other older women.
"Hey," Braden teased, whispering huskily into her ear.
You mean I don't get another kiss under the magical mistletoe tonight?
She glared at him. Now who's being incorrigible, Mr. Romero? Besides, maybe I think you've been a naughty boy. He gave a low laugh.
I've done everything perfectly and you know it.
Maybe later, Erin said airily. Although later might never come. Braden frowned, looking genuinely perplexed.
Why do you say that?
Erin bit her lips and gave a small shrug. Get me another dessert first.
No, tell me now.
Erin swallowed hard, then placed a palm on Braden's chest and leaned in as if to kiss his neck. She whispered,
We might not come out of this alive. The egg is a fake.
She felt him give a start.
How do you know? How can you be certain? It looks pretty dang close to perfection, if not the ultimate.
It's an outstanding copy, I can say that much, Erin admitted.
But you've never seen the original before.
Our little forgers made one very big mistake.
Whisper it to me, my love,
Braden said, pulling Erin into his chest and circling his arms around her back to give her a small squeeze. A thrill sent shooting tingles up her throat. This guy was getting to her. Why? This was a job, work, nothing more. He was annoying, right? But he sure did do his work well, she had to admit. The consummate professional agent. Despite the attraction she was experiencing, Erin kept reminding herself that Braden's behavior toward her was merely an act. They were both putting on a show for Mr. Donnelly and all the other guests. Now Erin placed her arms around her fake fiancé's neck and closed her eyes as if sighing into Marcus Romero's embrace.
The bottom of the basket had the year of the winter egg. Yes, 1913, I saw it myself. That's what you told me was the year Fabergé made the egg for the Russian royal family. So it's correct, right? Please tell me that's right.
It's correct, but on the true winter egg, the real winter egg, the year 1913 was written in Roman numerals, not Arabic. All Fabergé eggs were imprinted with their date of creation in Roman numerals.
Okay,
Braden said slowly, as if trying to work out what she was saying. Marcus, what I'm saying is that the basket should be stamped with MCM XIII. Braden blinked as if he was thinking through what MCM XIII meant, working out the numbers and math. Then he blew out a breath.
Got it. Which means that you're telling me
We just put down a deposit on $1 million for a forgery?
Bingo, Agent Moretti, Erin said. Chapter 9. To forgery or not to forgery? Everything appeared legit until now, Erin said with a shake of her head. The forgery is absolutely gorgeous, but it's not the real thing. Not worth 10 million smackers. Probably more like a couple thousand. She leaned in to snuggle up against Braden and put her head next to his, sauntering through the downstairs rooms of the mansion as if they were consulting together about their excitement about bidding on the winter egg. They made sure to mention Fabergé in whispers a couple of times when they were passing other guests. When they were relatively alone near the Donnelly Library, a beautiful room in rich mahogany and plush carpets with chandeliers that had been dimmed, Erin caught Braden's eye meaningfully and said in a low voice, "Did you see his gun?" Braden did a double take, a frown appearing between his eyebrows.
What gun?
None other than Donnelly's esteemed and British butler, the guy was carrying.
Are you sure?
Yep, I know a pistol when I see one. Braden got a look of mischief in his eyes.
Speaking of that, what's your weapon of choice, dear fiancé?
Standard issue, my darling. 9mm Glock, what else?
That's so FBI, Cassandra.
What do you and your fellow spooks use? She needled in return, batting her eyelashes when she teased him with the slang term that CIA used for each other.
Glock 19, although my favorite is the Sig Sauer P228.
You do like to live dangerously.
Okay, as long as we're playing games.
His voice trailed and he cocked an eyebrow at her as if she were the most intriguing woman on the planet.
Are you, carrying right now?
A shiver ran straight up Erin's toes, turning her entire body warm. Always, darling.
Where? You hide it well.
Erin made her voice low and sultry.
Wouldn't you like to know?
He chuckled, his voice so deep Richter scale tingles ran through Erin's body, like the man had personally shocked her with a live electric cord.
I would. I might have to retrieve it sometime later tonight. I'd like to be prepared.
Give me your hand, she said, sidling closer. She took Braden's hand in hers and placed the flat of his palm on her outer right thigh, under the form-fitting slinky dress. Not there, but close.
Good enough, my love.
A hot flush spread up Erin's face. What in the world were the two of them doing? A combination of fake fiancé acting, with doses of something more. Definitely something more. This night was getting stranger and stranger. But her heart raced with the danger of it all, including the thrill of working with Braden Moretti, the type of man she'd never dreamed she'd ever meet. Then again, this was one of the reasons Erin had become an FBI agent. She'd been a daredevil kid, getting her kicks by taking risks, like skydiving and drag races with her older brother when they were teenagers. Erin sidled closer again. Have you made contact with your handler yet about the artifact?
Not yet, but we need to sooner rather than later. Midnight is approaching.
Braden slipped a hand under her elbow and led her away from the library.
We need somewhere more discreet. Let's go outside.
It's December and freezing.
Won't take long, I promise. Besides, I'll keep you warm.
You're not supposed to be keeping me warm, Mr. Romero.
He chuckled. Oh, yes, I am, Miss Fairfax.
Erin narrowed her eyes and stuck a hand on her hip. I don't like the way you just said that.
It's all part of our incognito selves.
I know, but you do not get to take liberties with me, Moretti. Shh, we've got company. Erin clamped her mouth shut and gazed up with adoring eyes into her fake fiancé's face. Another guest they had danced next to a few times during the course of the evening passed by. The woman gushed, catching Erin's eye. "Isn't it magnificent?" she said in awed tones. "It truly is," Erin agreed. "One of the most beautiful objets d'art I've ever seen," she went on, using her best French accent. "I assume we're bidding rivals?" "May the best woman win," the other guest said with a knowing smile, as if she were certain that she would come out on top in the bidding war. After they had passed, Braden led her back through the ballroom to the 3 sets of double doors that led onto 3 balconies. The balconies were open on either end, leading down curving stone steps to take them onto the rear lawns and gardens. A fountain in the center of a wide patio shot misty water into the air, while Romanesque statues were situated about the pathways and garden. Under the moonlight, they appeared as if crafted from white alabaster, figures of women in flowing robes carrying water pots with long hair over their shoulders. "I'll bet this is stunning during the spring and summer," Erin said, passing other couples who were headed back up the staircases to the ballroom. "Right now, it's pretty chilly out here. At least it's not foggy. Clear skies and a pretty terrific moon. But the temperature just gives me an excuse to hold you closer to keep you warm." "Ha! Do you need any other excuse than the one we've used all night?" Braden turned his face to hers with a thoughtful expression. "I'd kind of hoped I might have more than our professional aliases." "It certainly has been an informative evening so far, and not just professionally." Erin agreed slowly, admitting that there were definite vibes between them. "May we still be alive and kicking by the end of tonight," Braden said soberly, pulling out his encrypted phone to send a message. "Bid deposit received by target. Announced at midnight. Artifact definite forgery. Search for original underway." A return question popped back immediately, verifying how forgery determined. No more money or SWAT team unless 100% certain. F workmaster and date engraving wrong. Erin had been looking over Braden's shoulder while he sent and received. "I'm assuming F is for Fab..." Braden nodded, tightening his lips as an older couple passed by to head for the stairs. "Kiss me again," Erin quickly whispered, and then she nearly choked when she heard herself say the words. "With pleasure," Braden murmured, gathering Erin in his arms and firmly placing his lips against hers in the warmest, most sensuous kiss of her life. Heat spilled out of every pore of her body, flaming her cheeks while she slipped her arms around Braden's neck and pulled him in tight against her as their kiss deepened. After several long moments, Braden finally broke the kiss while Erin swayed on her feet as if drunk. "Okay, I'm not sure I can take any more of that." "That bad?" Braden teased. "No, that good, darn you." He gave her a devilish grin. "After this is all over, let's go somewhere and make out." "You wish," Erin had to shoot back. She wasn't going to get taken in by a handsome CIA agent who'd probably drop her after 2 weeks. Besides, you must be channeling James Bond with that seductive Bond reply. "With pleasure?" You sounded like the actor Daniel Craig, except you're more handsome. "I'll take that. I've been practicing." Erin gasped and pushed him away. "You cad. You get nothing more, even if it's under the pretense of who we're supposed to be." "Cassandra," Braden said quickly, grabbing her to his chest again. "We have company," he whispered in her ear. She gulped as a new couple descended the stairs behind them and moved past, chatting and laughing and shivering in the clear night air. "Sorry." "I was teasing you," Braden said in a serious tone. "Honestly, I could never kiss a woman like that unless I truly wanted to. We could have just given each other dutiful pecks tonight and no one would have been the wiser." She took a small step backward. "But can I trust you that you're not just trying to seduce me?" "I'm being as honest and upfront as possible. I want you to trust me, actually. This is turning into more than just a job tonight." Erin gave a weak laugh. "It's crazy, isn't it? I'll say this much. I never expected it after that first meeting in Howell's office. I figured we'd be at each other's throats all night." "At each other's throats," Erin said with a chuckle. "More like at each other's mouths." She shook her head and burst out, "I can't believe the conversation we're having." Braden moved to a more secluded section of the garden while loaning his coat jacket to Erin to keep her from shivering. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" The night air was clearing her head. "I keep coming back to the idea about how risky it is to be selling a fake. What if this is a slightly different type of swindle?" Braden nodded, as if knowing exactly what she was going to say. "I've never heard of a swindle where the bidders put up earnest money that is automatically deposited into the owner's account. How easy it would be to take the money and run." "We're on the same wavelength. What if Donnelly and crew actually own the original winter egg, and perhaps other Fabergé pieces? He uses his collection to create spectacular lookalikes, and then has private auctions, raking in tens of millions of dollars from unsuspecting bidders." Erin nodded. The supposed winner goes home with a hard-to-detect forgery, and Donnelly goes on to have more auctions with other pieces. But Donnelly can't have all his auctions here. That would be much too obvious. "He probably moves them around the world, his other homes, businesses, art galleries, etc., so the potential clientele is rarely the same." "This could be even bigger. What if he's fooled Christie's auction house in New York before?" "There are rumors to that effect, but not something he'd try more than once or twice." "And it can't be Donnelly every time. Much too suspicious. More likely, he has other friends and associates at their homes who are selling art." Erin nodded. "That's true. We've never had Donnelly on our radar before now." "Probably an entire international network going on. It usually is. People who are not known to be acquainted or have connections. But they are connected. Underground." "So, what's your best guess on what is going to happen tonight? Is the real winter egg in that mansion behind us? Hidden somewhere?" "I'm not sure, but it's possible." Erin spoke slowly. "The trick is, how do we find it without getting killed? You get right to the point, my love. And it was obvious that the second time we went to hold the egg up close and personal, there were a lot more Donnelly security hovering." Erin quirked her mouth up. "Do you have SWAT on speed dial?" "They're not far. Howell is monitoring from another location as well, of course." "Why did his forger have an error like Arabic numbers instead of Roman numbers for the date?" "That might be the biggest question of the night. Without that error, nobody would ever suspect." Erin shook her head. "Nope. The biggest question is, when will the art piece be moved and how? Armored vehicle? An underground labyrinth underneath the city?" "Those are called sewer tunnels, sweetheart," Braden said with an indulgent smile. "Haven't you seen the movies where detectives and the bad guys are splashing through dirty water and a subway train almost takes them out? In our case, living in the Bay Area, it's BART. But Bay Area Rapid Transit doesn't go underground like subways. Except for the underwater tube from Oakland to the city, of course.
Nothing's perfect. We'll just swim parallel to it.
Erin let out a laugh, turning to cover her mouth. Braden Moretti was funny, too.
Okay, our next step is attempting to find the original Fabergé.
Erin frowned. How are we going to snoop with Donnelly's thugs roaming the estate?
By using your feminine wiles?
Braden asked. Nothing doing, buddy. Erin shook her head vehemently. How about masculine wiles? You can go dance with Mrs. Jack Donnelly and ask for a private showing.
You mean Olivia?
Braden said quickly just to tease her. Just get her under the mistletoe. Erin shot back, trying not to burst into laughter.
You're bad, Miss Fairfax.
Erin took a deep breath. Okay, should we split up for the next 30 minutes and see what we can snoop out?
Meet back here at 23:30.
Erin put a finger to her lips in jest. That's 11:30, right? Like right before midnight? Braden just shook his head.
I'll go woo Mrs. Donnelly. You go do whatever women do.
That was nice and precise. Erin flung over her shoulder. She handed Braden his suit coat and then swished her evening gown about her ankles to sashay back to the party. Chapter 10. Mansion Snooping. Returning to the house was like a warm blanket after being in the night air. Erin's cheeks were cold, her fingers numb, and she was shivering. After exploring the downstairs rooms, there was nothing to indicate any hidden alcoves or unlocked doors. The grand staircase held no secret compartments that she could detect. The ballroom was, of course, filled with dancing, chattering, eating guests, and those who were getting very tipsy. Grabbing a small plate with bite-sized cakes, Erin nibbled at the corners while she appeared to leisurely enjoy the music and dancing couples. She accidentally on purpose ended up in the kitchen and made her apologies to the chef and cooks while avoiding getting in their way, but scoping it out anyway. At least it took the spot off the potential list. With all the hustle and bustle, there was no way a Fabergé Egg was hiding in there. Leaving by the back door, she ended up in the formal dining room, where a table had been laid with fine china, silver flatware, and fresh flowers that scented the air. It was dusky, the only light slanting in from the hallway. Opening the china buffet and a hutch and another small table with a row of drawers proved fruitless. Nothing but silverware and serving platters. No stuck drawers or secret drawers. And she knew what to look for. No bags of loose diamonds and emeralds, or glittering 100-year-old eggs anywhere, not even behind the heavy damask draperies, or under a squeaky floorboard. Next was the library. Lots of hiding places. Closing the door part way so she wasn't seen by passing guests, Erin worked quickly, looking for telltale signs of fake books with their innards ripped out. Inside hollow busts or behind fake panel doors in the 2 desks, table, and bookshelves. Her stomach was in her throat. She needed to get back upstairs, but all those butler guards made her nervous. Erin was pretty sure that it wasn't normal for Jack Donnelly to have so many thugs around. There was obviously something going down here tonight at some point. But what and how? And most importantly, when? Trying to think like a criminal only made it harder to come up with a theory. Theories only got you so far. Normal people were not naturally devious, and Erin had never stolen anything in her life, not even a candy bar as a kid. Her dad was a retired police officer for the city, and his stories of thugs and criminals and drug dealers kept her on the straight and narrow. Leaving her empty dessert plate on one of the hallway tables, Erin swallowed hard and then laid a hand on the polished banister, moving up the steps to the 3rd story, eyes and ears on alert. there was a tangible, eerie quiet in the hallways, much more so than earlier. She reached the landing, stopping to admire paintings on the walls and various sculptures on the hallway tables, as if she were merely a browsing guest, and scouting for the interior cameras that Jack Donnelly was sure to have installed. Most likely, all the potential buyers for the winter egg had already finished their inspections and done their bidding an hour ago. Bedrooms. That was next. Unfortunately, so many guest rooms were going to take more time than she had before the clock struck midnight. Still, Erin did her best to look in the closets and wardrobes and behind paintings for a secret safe built into the wall, avoiding the cameras she had spotted in the corners. A safe was the most likely location for the original winter egg's hiding place. Donnelly wouldn't conceal something that valuable on a shelf in the closet or in the nightstand drawer. Even after her extensive search, there wasn't a single safe to be found. She hoped Braden was having more luck in the lower part of the house. Perhaps there was an attic, but how to access it was the problem. There didn't appear to be any other staircases other than the last staircase that led to the final 4th floor, where she found more guest suites, the master suite, and various picturesque sitting rooms. Avoiding the end of the hallway where the art gallery was located, she was about to enter the last shadowy bedroom when a voice called out, "Miss Fairfax, what are you doing up here?" Erin whirled around. It was Mrs. Donnelly. "Oh, hello, Mrs. Donnelly. I was just—" "Please call me Olivia." "Yes, Olivia." It felt awkward to call the woman by her first name when she was at least 30 years older than Erin and they didn't know each other. "I was just searching for a ladies' room." "Didn't anybody show you the women's guest room downstairs?" No, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to go snooping." "You're not snooping, my dear. But it's right off the foyer. I didn't think anybody would miss it. Let me show you." Drats, Erin thought. She'd hoped Mrs. Donnelly would let her find it herself so she could continue to snoop. But the hostess led the way back down the halls to the foyer. An alcove off the large foyer led to a beautifully appointed ladies' room with comfy sofas, crystal lights, and a separate room with expansive gold-trimmed mirrors for guests to touch up their hair and makeup. "Thanks so much, Olivia. It's been a beautiful evening so far. Thank you for the invitation." The woman gave her a soft smile. "It's our one big party of the year, even though Jack balks at all the hustle and bustle that begins weeks ahead. Between you and me, I think he secretly enjoys showing off the house and his art collections." Erin laughed gaily, and then waited a few minutes after the woman departed before leaving the restroom. The room was wonderfully warm and toasty, so it was hard not to curl up on a sofa and close her eyes for a moment, but she didn't know where Braden had gotten to, and she hadn't heard a word from him for nearly 30 minutes now. Flipping open her phone from her handbag, she texted him. "All quiet on the Western Front?" The reply from Braden came quick. "Yep, no news. You?" It suddenly occurred to Erin that Braden was supposed to have gone in search of Olivia Donnelly, but the woman hadn't said a word about seeing her fiancé. Interesting. Did that mean anything? Erin. "Nothing gleaned from OD?" Braden. "No luck. Didn't see her." Erin. "That's because I spent the last 10 minutes with her. She caught me upstairs. Now I'm downstairs. Where do we go from here? I got nothing, and I possess a specialty in secret compartments." Braden. "You were supposed to get me results, woman." Erin. "Go jump in the fountain and cool off. Shall we meet in the ballroom and pretend we're hungry again?" Braden. 10-4, my love. Erin. "That's enough out of you for tonight." She snapped off the phone and laughed under her breath. Erin was beginning to think the two of them were having too much fun tonight. Braden was turning into quite the partner, humorous, witty, and devilish. He kept her on her toes. And she had to stop thinking about those best-ever kisses. 2 already tonight. Well, she should probably amend that to 2 kissing events, because each time the kisses amounted to several all rolled into one. When Erin exited the ladies' room, the temperature suddenly dropped after the overly heated room. The foyer was chilly and she rubbed her hands. She'd have to get her fake fiancé to dance with her again and warm her up. Except that midnight was fast approaching and they needed to figure this thing out pronto. Halfway back to the ballroom, Erin suddenly stopped in her tracks. The sudden chill combined with her growling stomach, combined with the winter egg, had put the most insane notion into her head. If she were Jack Donnelly and owned the winter egg plus a forged version, where would a man like him, who thought of himself as oh so clever, hide it? Not the traditional locations like hidden floorboards, or a combination safe or hollow books. Any thief or FBI agent would automatically scope all that. Popsicles and winter went together in a perverse sort of way. She felt like a popsicle at the moment. Thaw. Freezers. Perhaps the Donnellys had hidden the real Russian art piece in the mansion kitchens? A place nobody went except for the chefs. Except that she had already looked there. But not everywhere in the kitchen. Her heart flew into her throat at the idea she was having. It was crazy and weird, but Erin had to check it out. It was impossible not to. Picking up the front of her fancy dress, she hurried up the stairs to the ballroom, spotting Braden standing next to one of the columns across the room. Giving a slight jerk of her head, she darted behind the food tables where servers were still taking care of food and drinks and dessert and removing used plates and glasses. Seconds later, Erin was in the massive kitchens. The place was still bustling as the cooks and servers prepared fresh drinks and ice for the midnight toast and fireworks. She definitely stood out in her evening gown and high heels, but she refrained from looking anybody in the eye, pretended she was invisible and slipped past the employees to the back of the kitchens, where the refrigerators were lined up in rows, as well as 2 enormous stand-up freezers. Visions of getting locked into a walk-in freezer ran like a nightmare through her mind, but at least she didn't have to worry. Besides, Braden was on site and hopefully making his way here. Without asking permission, Erin pulled open the first freezer door and stared at the frozen meats, ice cream, yogurt, whipped cream, juices, and other assorted items. Nothing that looked like a hidden piece of art. After she opened the second freezer, she began to feel silly. This was absurd. There might not be the original Fabergé egg on the premises. It was probably in a very secure safe in another location entirely. But the nagging feeling that Jack Donnelly was a scheming and controlling man persisted. He would want it close so he could keep an eye on it. She found nothing in the second freezer, so Erin quickly inspected all the refrigerators. Nothing. "Hey, what are you doing?" one of the cooks called out, finally noticing her. "Just getting some ice for a headache," she said sweetly, putting a weary look on her face. "I'll get you an ice pack," the man said, disappearing into another wing of the kitchen for a few moments. While he was out of range, Erin tugged open the freezer again. There had been a box in the back, hadn't there? Behind a few roasts and steaks, moving quickly, Erin pulled out the frozen meats and placed them on a counter behind her. The box in question was made of white cardboard and nondescript. Not that big, either. It looked like a cake box, actually, but Erin had to check. The box was taped on all sides. Sliding a finger underneath the flaps, she snagged the tape, releasing the lid. Inside was a small cake iced in plain white fondant. Her hunch was wrong. There was nowhere else to look. All her instincts tonight had been faulty. Perhaps she and Braden, and by default the FBI and CIA leads in research, had been completely, utterly misinformed and mistaken. Tonight had been a colossal failure. Unfortunately, it happened sometimes, even after months or years of digging up clues and leads. Glancing over her shoulder, she wondered why the cook hadn't returned with an ice pack for her pretend headache. Before she could form another coherent thought, Erin found herself whirling about on her high heels. She flipped open the cake box lid and lifted out the cake, placing it on the counter. Shielding the cake with her body, Erin plunged her fingers into the thick icing and hit something stiff and unyielding. Her heart began to pound, so hard it sounded like wind roaring past her ears. She couldn't breathe. Maybe it was a gag cake, but maybe it wasn't. Quickly, she wiped away the mass of frosting over and over again to get to the inner object. An oval, egg-shaped object formed under her fingertips. Another few swipes and a beautiful ice sculpture began to appear. Tears prickled at her eyelids. The Fabergé winter egg with its ice crystals and thousands of diamonds sat before her in the cake box. A golden basket of Russian flowers safely inside the beautiful oval shape. Opening the egg as fast as she could, Erin turned the basket of flowers over to look at the date. MCMXIII. This is it. The winter egg. She whispered to herself. $10 million was sitting in her hands. Chapter 11. When the Going Gets Tough. In the distance, Erin heard a clock begin to strike midnight. Peeking over her shoulder, she noticed that the kitchen had emptied of all the cooks. Where had they gone? Of course, it was midnight. Perhaps it was tradition that they were allowed to attend the ballroom for a drink and to watch the fireworks. A moment later, the faint sounds of explosions and clapping guests could be heard on the ballroom balconies. Letting out a deep breath, she turned back to the egg, trying to figure out what to do with it. "Where is Braden?" she whispered, wondering how best to transport the egg. Should she place it back into the box or not? Hide it in her purse? But that would mean having to clean up the thick camouflage frosting. Before she could make a decision, a cold piece of metal was suddenly pressed against her temple. Erin sucked in a gulp of air, freezing in place. A woman's voice spoke from behind her. "So you found it, you little snoop. Lucky guess, because you're not that smart." Erin recognized the voice instantly. Charlene Williams held a pistol against her forehead. Charlene? "You certainly put on a good act," Erin told her, not daring to move with a bullet an inch away from blowing her brains out. "You played the excited best friend of Mrs. Donnelly who loves weddings and fiancés well." "You did too, my girl. But we've been on to you from the beginning. We didn't know which guests the FBI or CIA would send tonight, but it didn't take long to figure it out. Fake fiancés? That's a new one. But a good cover." Erin said, stalling. "So how did you figure it out? I thought we did pretty good." "Not bad, but the kiss gave you away." "In what way?" "You looked like a deer caught in the headlights when you were under the mistletoe. Miss Fairfax, if that's actually your name, but we both know it's not." "You're right. The Fairfax surname isn't real, but Cassandra is." Charlene gave a hardened, coarse laugh. "Tell me another. I wasn't born yesterday, girl." "Believe what you want to believe." "I must say that your acting skills still weren't too bad. And I think your partner's good kissing took you by surprise. The second half of the kissing scene was fairly believable." Erin shrugged as if she couldn't care less. She wasn't going to get into her episode of kissing Braden with this woman. "So who are you, Charlene?"
"Let's just say I'm with the Donnelly family enterprise."
Erin frowned. "Where's Marcus? He was supposed to meet me here." "On the balcony. You two are the winners of the auction tonight, and he's receiving instructions from Jack and Olivia. All he knows is that you didn't find anything tonight, that you were wrong about the forged egg, and to wire the rest of the $10 million over to Jack." "I never told him there wasn't a forgery." "We did for you. You sent him a text, don't you remember?" "Ah, you thought of everything, didn't you?" Erin said, her voice laced with sarcasm. "How did you get my phone? It's in my evening clutch right over there." "It was." Charlene laughed as if she were delighted with her own wits. "You set it on the counter and didn't realize that I swiped it. Now, no more talking or I'll blow your head off. Let's go join your fiancé, shall we?" Erin gave the woman a tight smile, wishing she could rip the woman's annoying smirk off her face. "With pleasure." "Take the egg with you," Charlene ordered. "Slow. No sudden movements. I have a hair finger trigger, you know." Erin reached out to place the cake with the Fabergé egg, along with the seriously messed up frosting, back into the box. Charlene's cold voice snapped at her again. "Clean your hands so as not to bring attention to us while we walk back through the ballroom." Obediently, Erin washed the frosting off her hands in the sink next to the bank of freezers, hyper-aware of the weapon aimed at her skull the entire time. Working quickly, she taped the lid back together, fingers trembling, and then picked up the cake box and held it in her arms, holding it tight against her evening gown to protect it from falling. Slowly, they exited the kitchens, Charlene pressing the gun at Erin's head even harder. Overhead was the continued sound of fireworks exploding. Once they were out of the kitchens and in the dusky ballroom, Erin spotted the colorful pyrotechnics cascading over the midnight sky in bursts of red and green star-like showers. The Golden Gate Bridge glowed in the background of the winter night. Then she realized that there was another odd sound underneath the fireworks. What was that? She knew she should recognize it, but she was slow on the uptake when there was a gun at her head. A small gasp escaped her lips. It was the sound of a helicopter. "Smart," she told Charlene. "Nobody can hear your getaway helicopter when the fireworks are going off. Where are you taking the real winter egg? Back to Qatar or Saudi Arabia? Maybe Russia, China? Never to be seen again?" "Both China and Russia do like their forged art, don't they?" Charlene agreed. "Marcus and I are on to your scam. Move the egg around and your forged replica. Sell the same piece over and over again for tens of millions of dollars." "Ah, perhaps you are smarter than you look," Charlene said in a cutting tone. "Then again, we're the geniuses." Erin couldn't help it. She laughed at the woman. "Houses like this don't come cheap, do they? And you probably have one in most of the major cities, right? Easy to track now." "Unless you and your cohort don't survive the night to ever track us again. There have been other balconies in the world. Balconies where accidents unfortunately occur. In the excitement of the moment, under the fire and fury of a fireworks display, somebody was tipsy and lost their footing." "What brilliance," Erin said derisively. There was something this woman didn't know about Erin Steele at this very moment. Charlene and the Donnelly duo had been fools not to look at the very thing that would entrap them, if she and Braden survived the night. The three of them were making their own beds in that high-security prison room behind a personal set of bars. Charlene smiled serenely.
I'm glad you appreciate it.
Ah, here's your CIA spook partner now. Erin's heart fluttered at the sight of Braden striding down the length of the balcony toward her. Thank goodness, he was actually here. A small surge of hope filled Erin's chest. Braden's eyes were riveted to her face. At that moment, the CIA agent had never looked better. A light breeze ruffling his thick dark hair, a shy smile on his lips that was only for her. "Cassandra!" he called out when he spotted her. And then his smile turned to a frown when he realized that Erin and Charlene weren't having a woman-to-woman gab fest. That something much more sinister was going on. Charlene cocked the gun and Erin winced. Did the woman have a hair trigger finger? Erin was weighing options as fast as she could. How much did Braden already know? She hadn't heard from him since she'd found the egg in the freezer. He had no idea she'd discovered the original winter egg. Was he quick on his feet? Were his reflexes good? "Move toward the balcony railing," Charlene growled. With small, jerky steps, Erin turned slightly left to move toward the balcony ledge. Utter darkness lay 3 stories below. There were 3 stone balconies that stretched across the back of the mansion, and most of the guests were standing at the far end, as if the entire thing had been planned. "Faster," Charlene hissed next. The older woman kept pace on Erin's left side with the barrel of the gun at her head, a position that swept the gun out of sight of the other guests further away, including Braden. Erin prayed her partner would ascertain what was happening quickly, if only by the grim expression on her face. She didn't dare glance at Braden because if she moved her head even an inch, Charlene might blow her brains out. She had to be swift with any move she might attempt. Erin prayed that Braden would quickly assess the situation, even if this balcony was darker than usual. The Donnellys had conveniently extinguished all the exterior mansion lights. "Cassandra!" Braden called again, and then he began to jog toward her. Charlene pushed Erin to move faster, grabbing hold of her arm to keep her in place. Out of the corner of her right eye, Braden was nearly there. When he got within 3 feet of Erin, she dipped her head slightly at the exact moment she tossed the cake box toward him, praying he had good reflexes and would catch it. Startled at the sudden toss, Braden let out a yelp, but lunged forward to grasp the edge of the box and save the egg from crashing to the ground at the exact moment Charlene fired the gun. The pistol blast was so close, Erin's ears rang from the explosion, deafening her. But she was mentally prepared despite a sudden, horrific headache. While her ears were still ringing, Erin ducked away from the gun and gut-punched Charlene with her fist. The impact sent the woman sprawling at the stone pavings with a yell like a wounded animal. The gun went flying, but Braden was ready. He ran to the pistol, snatched it up from the flagstone, and released the clip to unload the remaining bullets. The bullets went into his inner breast pocket, while the Glock was tucked into his cummerbund after putting the safety in place. Braden was so well trained and smooth, the entire process took all of 5 seconds. Guests from the parallel balcony began to scream when they realized that the last firework explosion had actually been a gunshot. Women in evening gowns and men in tuxedos immediately began running back into the house, yelling and tripping over each other. Erin put a hand to her head, which was now fiery with pain and aching something fierce. Something dripped from her hand. Had it begun to rain? She glanced down at her fingers and saw streaks of red. "You're bleeding," Braden said. "I think that bullet grazed you." Erin's vision swam. "I don't feel so good," she said, her legs wobbly. Braden caught her arm. "Don't pass out on me, sweetheart," he murmured, pressing a white handkerchief from his tux pocket to her head. Hold this while I handcuff Charlene and charge her with theft, forgery, international espionage, international money laundering, and the attempted murder of my fiancé."
"Fake fiancé,"
Charlene growled, crawling to her feet in an effort to sprint for the house. Chapter 12. Helicopters and Bullets. Erin wanted Braden to wrap her up in his arms and hold her for an hour or two. Instead, she whispered in a rough voice, "Go get that woman and take her down." In one swift movement, Braden caught hold of Charlene's arm, stopping her escape. In 2 seconds flat, he'd pulled her down and pinned her to the stone balcony floor with one knee on her back. Struggling against him, Charlene flailed about, but Braden held her secure as easily as holding down a gnat buzzing in his ear.
"Let me go!"
she hissed, kicking her legs. Despite her sharp heels banging against his back, he was unflappable, tightening his grip on her wrists before placing handcuffs on the woman. Just as the cuffs snapped into place, their SWAT team swarmed the balconies. More men in full camouflage tactical gear scaled the walls of the house. The sound of the approaching helicopter grew louder, hovering overhead, its blades whirring as it began to land on the helipad on the mansion's roof. "Have you seen the Donnellys?" Erin shouted at Braden over the sound of the chopper's engine. "I don't trust Charlene to tell us the truth." He shook his head. "We need to find them. I have 2 more pairs of handcuffs I want to give away." "That helicopter is about to land on the roof of the house," Erin yelled. "Does your team know how to fly that bird?" Obviously, the Donnellys had plans to take the Fabergé Egg and move it to another location. He gave her a wide grin, tugging her closer to check the handkerchief Erin was holding against her temple. It was now soaked with blood. "The Donnellys have a landing pad up there. It's their private pilot flying that bird. He makes regular landings, even though it's against FFA guidelines." "How does he manage to get away with it?" "Donnelly is one of those guys who's above the law, don't you know? But not any longer if we can help it." Braden spoke into his cell phone in a clipped voice. "I need a medic on the east balcony. Has the package arrived yet?" The noisy crackle of the response sent Erin's head into a mind-numbing spin of pain. "Wow, can you guys keep the noise down?" Down below on the streets, the sound of police sirens, ambulance sirens, and chaos exploded. Within moments, the Donnelly mansion perimeter was surrounded by local police officers and vehicles, lights and sirens blaring. The rest of the SWAT team positioned around the house and inside each room, as well as standing at every window. Spotlights shone like beacons all over the property, lighting up every detail, every leaf on every shrub and eucalyptus tree. The lights blinded Erin and she clamped her eyes shut. "Wow, this headache is something else." Braden winced, checking her again. "We need to get you to a hospital. I hope you don't need stitches." "You mean to tell me that my gorgeous hairdo by Darla is ruined?" He chuckled. "I love a woman with a sense of humor when the chips are down." "I'll take that as a compliment," Erin said flippantly. "You should, and your hair still looks gorgeous. Must be all that hairspray Darla used." "Ha ha," Erin said, her lips twitching into a smile. "We're in a crisis and talking about my helmet hair."
"You two are pathetic,"
Charlene said while Braden lifted her roughly to her feet. "You're not actually engaged, but you're acting like 2 lovebirds. Have you no professional conduct at all?" "You can keep your opinions to yourself," Erin snapped, "before I smear blood on your hair." A broad-chested SWAT member strode up to them. "Officer Moretti, ETA on the medic is 2 minutes. Your orders?"
This woman is under arrest. Please escort her downtown and book her. I've got my supervisor ready and waiting to interrogate her. Do you have the Donnellys in custody? We've lost track of them." "My men have taken over the helicopter on the roof," the officer said brusquely. "We're in the process of detention of the owners of the house, as well as seizure of evidence." "Good. Lock down the house, especially the art gallery upstairs. I'll come to the jail myself to help with the interrogation, along with Agent Steele. After she's seen a doctor, that is, and if she feels up to it."
"I'll feel up to it," Erin assured him, not wanting to miss a single minute of their evening's success. Unfortunately, she was beginning to feel a bit woozy, but maybe the EMT would give her some pain meds. "Notify my superior, Agent Howell, to meet us at the precinct." The officer nodded.
"Done."
He motioned to two of his men, who dragged Charlene to her feet. "You don't have anything on me," she spit out. "You can't prove any of this in court. You only have Cassandra Fairfax's word against mine, and she's the one using an alias. It's called entrapment. I have the best lawyers in the world. They'll eat you alive in court."
Erin turned to face the woman. She couldn't wait to give Charlene Williams a much-needed dose of reality.
"We have something better. We have your own words to use against you." "What are you talking about? I swiped your phone from the kitchen. You couldn't have recorded me or taken any photos." A short laugh escaped Erin's throat. "We have the best technology in the world. Show her," she said to Braden.
"Are you sure?"
Braden asked, a frown of concern in his eyes.
"Do you feel up to it?"
"When she knows, she'll sing that much faster," Erin said sweetly as she eyed Charlene. "Your interrogation shouldn't last long at all, I promise." Agent Moretti cocked his chin at Erin, then pressed his lips together in an effort to suppress the laugh wanting to escape.
"The lady in red strikes again tonight." "Okay, I'll do the honors."
Braden handed a fresh handkerchief to Erin, taking the blood-soaked one from her to toss it in the nearest trash bin. Then he stood behind her to unzip her evening gown to the middle of her back. Shivering, Erin pulled the sleeve of her dress off her shoulder to show the wires running down her arm. Wires that were tiny in diameter and skin-toned so that they were practically invisible. "You see, Charlene, I've recorded this entire night, and I turned up the volume in the kitchen right after I found the winter egg because I knew someone would be coming as soon as I took it out of the freezer. I just didn't know it would be you, but you're on tape, girlfriend, loud and clear." During Erin's chastisement of Charlene, Braden slipped off his tux jacket and rolled up his sleeves to reveal his own wires.
"I'm her backup," he said. "You're busted good this time."
Charlene stared daggers at them. "Your arrogance, both of you, is unprecedented. We'll see if that's admissible evidence."
Braden shrugged, unperturbed.
"See you at the station." "Don't expect a wedding gift from me." Charlene shot back as the officers hauled her back into the house.
Meanwhile, the chopper's blades were still whirring above them, and Erin could hear the crackling of SWAT radios and shouts of the Donnellys' arrest in the cold December air. After Charlene was escorted into the house, the helicopter blades slowed their rotation and the roar of the engine was lowered. The balcony went suddenly quiet. Glancing up, Braden said, "Looks like they've made the Donnelly arrest and confiscated the chopper and arrested the pilot."
"Good," Erin whispered, just as the adrenaline rush she'd been on the last few hours disappeared like a wave washing her out to sea. Her legs went limp as boiled noodles, but Braden was at her side in an instant.
Hey, he said in deep tones. "Come on, Erin. Let me get you out of here. You're in no condition to do anything or go anywhere." Or should I call you Cassandra? Maybe you prefer Miss Fairfax. He teased, as if trying to get her mind off the injury. Call me whatever you'd like. I'm just glad you're alive, and that I am too. She gazed up into his beautiful face, then lifted a finger to trace his full, sensuous lips. He gave her a smile. You're bleeding and dizzy. Probably a little mentally unstable, too. I thought you hated me. Erin said, as if pondering the idea. I don't think I hate you any longer. I mean, how could I hate somebody who can kiss like you do? The feeling is mutual, Braden whispered, his hand brushing along her cheek while he searched her eyes. I have this sudden urge to kiss you again, but we don't have any mistletoe handy. Go grab some from the ballroom, Erin told him, pointing toward the open doors. Lights blazed in the ballroom as if the party were still going strong. Only now the room was filled with police officers. I'm not leaving you, Agent Steele. Not even for mistletoe. I just wish that EMT would get here. We don't need a medic to give us permission to kiss each other, Erin joked, reaching up to touch his face that was now growing stubble after so many hours. He chuckled, bending over to kiss her forehead. You're a little spitfire, you know that, Miss Cassandra Fairfax? That's why I became an agent. I wanted to torture CIA officers like you. How many officers have you tortured so far? Erin pursed her lips, thinking about it. Actually, only you so far. I don't make it a habit to kiss CIA officers. Unless they try to hijack my elevator to the 14th floor. Ah, only those CIA officers. Good to know. Hey, your bleeding is slowing. That's good. Just need a couple of stitches and disinfectant. Probably an antibiotic for a few days and you'll be good as new. My miraculous recovery must be due to your ability to press a handkerchief against a wound. What's a little blood when we just broke up an international smuggling ring? Braden laughed. I have many hidden talents. Another visit to Darla's salon and I can stay just as beautiful as she made me tonight. I thought you were beautiful on the 14th floor elevator, actually. You had me fooled, Agent Moretti. I have skills that way. Speaking of being fooled, have you checked out the cake box over there? I've been meaning to ask you about that. Why did you throw a cake box at me? That's a first for my career. It has really good cake inside. Trust me, seriously good cake. Open the box and just gaze at that amazing cake, she drawled. Okay, but I'm not hungry for cake at the moment, Braden told her, holding Erin even closer if that was possible. His breath was warm on her face, his scent a rich, musky masculine, with that Fabergé brute spilling out of his collar. Erin couldn't stop staring at his neck. Do you think that police officer over there would grab the mistletoe for us? He asked her. We don't need it, Moretti. But you'd better kiss me again before I tie you to a post and take you hostage. I love a strong woman, Agent Steele. Braden murmured as he cupped her head with his palm and cradled her in his arms, right before his lips were on hers and he was finally kissing her again, his mouth soft and warm, and so very delicious. After kissing her gently for several incredible moments, Braden turned his head to kiss the corners of her mouth while Erin's body became electrified. Hot, shivery thrills tightened every muscle as she lifted her face to his, craving more. He murmured, I think that's enough kissing for now, or we'll never leave this balcony.
If you insist. Just open the present I gave you already, will you? Erin told him, laughing. And then we can go somewhere more comfortable than this cold balcony stone. You really gave me a cake? Stolen from the Donnelly kitchen? Stop stalling and open it already! Braden pulled the scuffed up and torn cake box toward him, then lifted the flaps. The frosting was a mess, of course, smeared everywhere inside the box. I think this cake has seen better days. He paused. Wait a minute. He peered closer, then opened all 4 sides of the box and laid them flat, exposing the contents. He wiped away bits of the frosting, then stared at her in disbelief. It's the winter egg! Erin cried. The real one. It was here all along, and the markings are there. We can get it verified with Christie's auction house in New York, of course, and authenticated. But I'm 99.9% sure it's the real deal. The $10 million whopper? So our theory was right. He added slowly. They've been running scam auctions, maybe all over the world. This is why the FBI brought in the CIA. And you found it, you clever woman. Braden leaned in to kiss her again, and it was much too easy to melt against his lips again, so they forced themselves to break apart to call for a team to transport the Fabergé Egg to a secure vault. I'll get on the phone with Christie's in the morning, he said. Maybe we could fly to New York too? Erin said hopefully, giving him a grin. He shook his head and chuckled. I like how your devious mind works. But, Erin said, holding up a hand, I'm actually starving at the moment. The shock must be wearing off. Oh, look, our medical tech is finally here. Sorry about that, boss, the EMT said, opening his medical bag. We had other injuries downstairs, although nobody else suffered a gunshot to the head. After searching for any shrapnel fragments, he cleaned up the wound and placed a tight bandage over it. You only need 2 to 3 stitches. Go on to the hospital and they can do that for you, plus give you an antibiotic. Then take it easy for a few days. Erin nodded. Gotcha, I'll do that. Braden gave her a sardonic smile. I'll make sure it actually happens. I have a question for you, Erin said slowly, fatigue hitting her like a ton of bricks. Charlene told me that we won the auction. She lied to you. Not surprising, Erin said dryly. They were about to announce the winner when all heck broke loose. They also stole our million smackers, but we'll probably get it back. Unless the Donnelly bank accounts are frozen for the next 5 years while this is litigated in court. I'm sure their lawyers know lots of tricks. What you're saying is that they'll end up getting away with it. Some version of that. They'll say that nobody got hurt and the egg is intact. Restitution of funds to their swindled customers, a couple of years in minimum security prison for white-collar crimes, and they'll be back to their dirty tricks again. But somebody did get shot in the head, me, if you'll recall. There is that, Braden agreed. We'll both be called as witnesses. Erin shrugged. I'll show off my scar proudly and wear my blood-stained evening gown as proof. The good news is that after taking the $10 million, the winter egg would have disappeared, so good work, Agent Steele. You're pretty incredible, you know that? He added, leaning in to kiss her lightly on the lips. You're pretty good yourself, Moretti, Erin said, staring at his mouth while her head swam dizzily. That's Marcus Romero to you, Miss Fairfax. I think this calls for an after-party breakfast at an all-night diner. After the stitches are done, that is. You really are hungry. It's been a busy night. You okay going in a blood-soaked evening gown? The blood blends in with my red and gold gown, Erin said, lifting an eyebrow to give him a sideways look. Actually, I came prepared. Remember that black day pack I left in the limo? Can you please call our driver for a pickup? Do you have him on speed dial? Braden let out a belly laugh. Do I finally get to learn what's in that mystery bag you brought with you and left on the seat? Okay, I'll confess. I packed jeans, a cozy pullover, and some very stylish boots. I always get hungry for a comfort food breakfast after a millionaire party. And I certainly can't spill maple syrup on my evening gown. Sounds like you have previous experience. You go to these things often, then? Only when it's incognito, she said with a careless shrug. With handsome CIA agents who kiss good. Only good? He teased. Erin put a finger to her lips as if she had to give it some thought. Super good? Fabulous? Dreamy? Pick your adjective. Just get me some more mistletoe, buddy. Epilogue. Christmas Eve in San Francisco. A week later, it was Christmas Eve. Erin was dressed in casual slacks and a red blouse, preparing to drive to her parents' house for their traditional family get-together the night before Christmas. She had a bag packed to stay overnight because her fun-loving parents were like kids on Christmas morning. They begged Erin and her brother and his children to spend the night so they could open up presents in their pajamas. After the gift-giving and a living room filled with wrapping paper and chaos, Erin would help her mother make their traditional Christmas morning marshmallow disappearing cinnamon rolls and drink hot cocoa. Those cinnamon rolls were to die for. Erin could eat 4 of them in a row and not even flinch. The last several days, she'd been eating her veggies and whole grains, knowing she'd be gorging on her mother's fantastic holiday dinner and pie later that week. A stash of wrapped gifts for her family members sat by the door of her apartment, ready to load into her car at the curb. It was one of those moments she was happy she'd splurged on purchasing her own car last year. Wrestling gifts on a streetcar was a major pain. After checking that all the gifts were in bags and accounted for, Erin glanced up at the family portrait on the wall in her front room. It was the last picture taken of them all before her sister Amelia disappeared 2 years earlier. There was her beaming mother and father, her brother and his wife Katie, Erin and then Amelia, the eldest of the 3 siblings. An ache bloomed in her chest seeing her sister so beautiful, with such a sweet smile. There were 5 years between them, but they had always been close. Losing Amelia was the worst thing that had ever happened to her family, and it hurt every single Christmas season. Whenever she studied the family photograph, Erin searched for a clue as to what Amelia had been thinking. She looked the same as Erin remembered, but was that smile just a little bit melancholy? Had her sister been hiding some kind of a secret? Unfortunately, they would never know. At this point, after 2 years of searching and all the tips and clues leading nowhere, Erin was trying to resign herself to the fact that Amelia probably wasn't alive any longer. Even so, Erin wanted to know the truth. She wanted to bring whoever kidnapped her, or hurt or killed her sister, to justice. Her family deserved that. Amelia deserved that. The uncertainty of 2 years broke her heart over and over again, like jagged pieces of anger and hurt that felt like actual wounds to her soul. She tried to shake off the stabbing sensation in her chest, to grab her phone and text her mother about her ETA. It was difficult, but she had to focus on finding peace during the Christmas season, even if that peace could often be elusive and often still brought her to tears. Erin gingerly touched the left side of her head. The stitches were healing quickly and almost ready to fall out. The gunshot wound was still tender. A purple bruise had bloomed across the area. Thankfully, the doctor hadn't shaved her head, and her hair still hid most of the damage. After the Donnelly Christmas party ended, she and Braden had gone to breakfast at an all-night eatery. Strawberry waffles and whipped cream helped fortify her hunger, and the meds from the emergency room physician erased much of her pain. Her bandage got a few stares, but there weren't many customers. The diner was cozy and warm, and Braden held her hand across the table, lacing their fingers over and over again, and sending electric tingles all over her body. They stayed for a second hour, drinking hot chocolate with miniature marshmallows and talking. Unfortunately, she hadn't seen him since. He'd gone down to San Jose for a few days for work, but he'd been texting and calling her. They still needed to figure out so much, like what the rules were about an agent in the FBI and one in the CIA being in a relationship. So far, they were acting like teenagers, not caring what anybody else thought. And of course, she wasn't going to bring it up to Agent Howell just to end up with a scolding or reprimand. A knock at the front door startled Erin. "Who could that be?" she muttered, opening the door. "Christmas special delivery," said a UPS delivery employee. "Oh, thank you." Erin took the package and closed the door. Sitting down on her sofa, she carefully unwrapped the shiny gold paper embossed with Christmas trees. The wrapping paper was so expensive it felt like silk. A smaller white box was inside. What in the world could this be? Carefully, she took the lid off and nearly dropped it in surprise. Startled, tears smarted at Erin's eyes, unable to believe what she was looking at. Inside the box was an exact replica of the winter egg. Exquisite. Perfect. Glittering in its silver and ice sculpture, the basket of flowers inside the oval eggshell was like a hidden spring morning, just waiting for winter to be over. "Who is this from?" she whispered, lifting the manufacturer's card to read it. "Please enjoy the famous winter egg, created by Fabergé Land. www.fabergéland.com." "Oh my," Erin whispered, a rush of excitement running up her spine, one hand at her throat at the sheer surprise and beauty of owning a replica of a little piece of history and the luxury of the Russian royal family. Rummaging through the rest of the box and the rustling pieces of white tissue paper, Erin found the gift card. "Dear Erin, or should I call you Cassandra Fairfax? Here's your very own Fabergé egg, the best of the best. Thanks for sharing a grand adventure with me. May there be many more in our future. Merry Christmas. Braden Moretti, a.k.a. Marcus Romero." "Braden? What? How? Why?" Questions spilled out of Erin's mouth so fast she couldn't stop them. Before she could wrap her head around such an astounding gift, another knock came at the door. She placed the winter egg on her coffee table and raced to the front door again. When she opened it, Braden himself was leaning against the door jamb like he was a modern-day version of Marlon Brando, suave, bad boy, and absolutely delicious in a leather jacket and jeans. Dang, he looked good. Erin's heart went into overdrive. "Did you get my package?" he asked, a saucy smile on his lips. "Oh, you!" she spluttered, a million questions on her lips. "Where did you get a Fabergé egg? Are you secretly a millionaire? Please tell me you didn't spend an entire month's pay on such an exquisite gift." Braden began to laugh. "Slow down, woman. No, I'm not a millionaire. Not even close. It's a replica, but a pretty darn good one, don't you think?" "It's perfect. I absolutely love it." He gave her a wink.
Even if I did spend a month's salary on it, you're worth it.
Heat was shooting from every pore of her body, every nerve on high alert. It's a special and very thoughtful gift, thank you. Truly, thank you. Now I need to find the perfect spot in my house. Maybe I'll transform one of my bedrooms into an art gallery.
I'll help you.
Gosh, come in, Erin finally said, tugging at his hand. He followed her into her living room. Look, isn't it fantastic? Braden picked up the egg and whistled.
Looks even better here in your house. If I didn't know better, I'd think it was the real thing. And this one doesn't even have frosting all over it.
Erin gave a quick laugh and shook her head at his impertinence. Setting the winter egg back on her table, he straightened and reached out to slide his hands down her arms. She wished it wasn't winter and that she wasn't wearing a pullover sweater. She wanted to know what his warm hands felt like on her skin. Before Erin could process the moment, Braden leaned in to softly kiss her lips. Her mind swooned, and her body melted as she sank against his broad, muscular chest.
I don't think we got a chance to do enough kissing at the Donnellys' Christmas party. I want more. I want you, Agent Steele.
Erin gave him her own saucy smile as they stood close together, the scent of Fabergé swirling in the air. The feeling is mutual, Agent Moretti.
I think we should try to finagle some new team projects. I thought we worked pretty well together.
I'll have to think about this. Her voice trailed away as he gazed into her eyes.
You have to think about it?
Uh-huh. Because at the moment, I can't think straight at all. Just tell me where and when I should be at my next job and I'll be there.
That's more like it.
Braden leaned in closer and placed his palm against the back of Erin's head, his lips softening against hers in the most romantic and intense manner.
Good grief. Braden Moretti kissed like nobody's business.
Wild thoughts shot off in all directions in Erin's mind. The moment was perfect. His gift was perfect. His tenderness was perfect. And now, his perfect arms were closing around her to hold her warm and safe.
No woman has captured me like you have, Erin Steele, he whispered against her lips.
Braden might be flirty and cocky and too handsome for his own good, but Erin had never met a man before that matched her in wits and brains and funny one-liners. I have a great idea, she suggested in a breathless voice. His laugh was low and deep.
Are you going to rope me into making Christmas cookies?
Maybe later, she replied with a soft giggle of her own. Right now, let's spend some time under the mistletoe, she said, standing on tiptoe to look him straight in the eye. Don't look now, but there's a big bunch of greenery and berries hanging about 3 feet above your head.
I don't have to look. I trust you to always tell the truth. Fancy winter eggs might be nice, but you are the best Christmas present of all,
he whispered, gathering her up in his arms to kiss her over and over again. Dive right into the next book. Her undercover spy fake fiancé. It's Christmas season all over again, and Agent Steele, along with the love of her life, Braden Moretti, are challenged with an impossible mystery that affects Erin in personal and devastating ways she never saw coming. Erin's disappearing marshmallow cinnamon rolls recipe. 1 to 2 cans of refrigerated crescent rolls, 8 to 16 large marshmallows, 1/2 cup brown sugar, 1/2 cup granulated white sugar, 2 teaspoons cinnamon, 1/2 cup melted butter or margarine. Open the can of crescent rolls and separate each roll on a piece of wax paper so that it lies flat. Dip 1 marshmallow into the melted butter to coat, and then dip into the cinnamon sugar mixture, covering well. Lay the marshmallow in the middle of the crescent roll, and then wrap the roll around the marshmallow and pinch sides and ends together. Dip each roll into the melted butter to coat. Spray a muffin tin with Pam spray. Place 1 roll in each of the 12 tins. Bake at 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. Watch to make sure they are baked to a golden brown and not overdone. Immediately remove the rolls from the muffin tin with a spoon and place on a plate. They might ooze a little bit of melted marshmallow, but it's all good and yummy. Drizzle icing or cream cheese frosting on each roll. Eat warm. Enjoy. When you bite into one of these rolls, you'll discover the marshmallow has disappeared. Makes 8 or 16, depending on how many cans of crescent rolls you use. Merry Christmas! This has been Her Secret Agent Fake Fiancé. Christmas Fake Fiancé Romance Book 1. Written by Kimberly Montpetit. Narrated by Elizabeth Walker. Copyright 2022-2023 by Kimberly Montpetit. Production copyright by Kimberly Montpetit.